Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this year's Recon MENA. My name is Steffen Schark. I'm holding the first Masterclass as of today, so I'm really happy that you made it, almost on time. And we will be starting now, so a warm welcome from my side. I will have a Masterclass today on new technologies, especially on artificial intelligence and blockchain. Those are marketing buzzwords, as you can hear them on many, many conferences. It's like everybody's talking about it, but nobody really knows what it is, and nobody, in many cases, don't see real life use cases for this. So I will give you some examples as of today on this and show you how those new technologies can help you in your business and for sure also in your everyday life. But mainly we're focusing on retail business and especially on shopping centers today. So there we are. Like I said, my name is Steffen Schark. I work for a company called Drooms. We are a high security cloud provider of data rooms. I will explain you also in a minute what a data room is. I work mainly in tech companies for the last 15 years, coming from banking, media, and software sales. And I work for Drooms since more than 2 years now as the global SVP for business development. So I cover also this region. For sure, the headquarters is in Frankfurt, and we are expanding globally right now. So this is the agenda for today. So I want to give you a short wrap-up about what are we doing in terms of technologies. Then we will have a fast review on how artificial intelligence and blockchain evolved over time, because it's not brand new. Then we will discuss the need for new technologies and where it can help you with the actual status. Then we will see some examples how other companies already use new technologies, how they implemented this. And then we will take a short look into the future, like what is next with those new technologies. So who has heard already of artificial intelligence and or blockchain? Raise your hand so I know what we are talking about. Okay, so I would say roughly half of you has come across those words. Maybe you read something about it, some articles, but I think it's always important to discuss what is the real need for this and how does this affect my life, probably business life, maybe also private life, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence. What probably everybody knows is that we all use those smart little helpers. You can call them Siri, Alexa, Cortana. They are just examples where already artificial intelligence and or machine rule-based learning is implemented. Short company overview, 18 years old, founded by M&A legal experts. We're focusing mainly on real estate sector and corporate finance M&A business. Corporate headquarters is in Frankfurt, and we have European offices in Munich, London, Paris, Amsterdam, Vienna, Madrid, Milano, and now opening New York offices, so covering the major markets in the world now, also going to APAC in the next area. And the client groups are mostly, I would say, 70% in real estate. We have many law firms using our platform already, but 70% is real estate clients. We have more than 25,000 clients who already used our products, so that is quite a large number when you take a global look on real estate clients. And we did more than 500 billion euros turnover in transactions. So that is a large amount of facilitation on the transaction side. That is a growth rate showing what impact new technologies have on the market. So there is a high demand on new technologies. So, and especially when it comes to using platforms for high security sharing of documents and information with third parties. So this is where we specialized in, on the one hand with transaction and on the other hand with portfolios. We do have a market share in Germany, about 50%. So every second real estate transaction that is run in Germany is done via our platform. So just to give you an example of the digitization status in Germany, and in Europe, we cover already 15% of the market. So whenever you come across a real estate transaction in Europe, it is in many, many cases already our platform which is used to exchange confidential information with the market participants. And this is also to show you where we are already implemented. For the retail business, we have strong clients. Many of you know Metro Group. We work with Ivanhoe Cambridge, Unibail-Rodamco Westfield. So the large shopping center providers already understood they need to change the way they work and how they adapt in terms of new technologies and how they use this to make their everyday life easier and also more secure. This is when it comes to new technologies, a strong focus on security on the one hand, but transparency on the other hand. So that is a brief history of AI. So it was already long time ago described of understanding the systematic patterns of human behavior. So I think the most important part of you would be this. We will see later a speaker from IBM as well. I think in 1997, that was one of the real milestones of artificial intelligence. It is mostly used in the gaming industry. And maybe you remember this time, the computer was called Deep Blue by IBM. And it was the first computer to beat a chess champion. Do you know who the chess champion was? Kasparov, really, 100 points. So if you Google it and you watch the YouTube video, you will see Garry Kasparov sitting there and throwing the chess and leaving the room. So because he could not understand that actually not a human being, but a computer was beating him. So that's probably really frustrating. And so 2011, another IBM computer, Watson, he did win also a famous game you probably know, Jeopardy. Jeopardy, a common TV show where it comes to answering quiz questions, and there were like 2 global experts on this, and again, the computer won. So actually, this was also a little more sophisticated. So chess on the one hand, quiz show on the other hand, but in both cases, the computer win. And the last one, the AlphaGo 2016. Go is a famous board game. It's again another game. So this is where it's commonly used with artificial intelligence to anticipate people's behavior. Because we probably, as normal thinking people, would think, how could it be possible that a computer understands what will be my next action? And that is actually the secret of it when it comes to artificial intelligence. The AI technology tried to rebuild your thinking and try to fast forward this to think, okay, what would be your possible next step in doing so? And this is what all of this technology is about in simple words. Second part, what is the blockchain? Who has heard already of the blockchain? Only blockchain now. So, are you familiar with it? Could you explain the blockchain in your own words? That's difficult. I've been to so many congresses, and when you see then experts on stage, 8 people, 8 different definitions. It's difficult. So, I just put a definition on this on the wall. We will see on some examples some simple use cases how the blockchain is at the end. The blockchain basically puts a set of information that is used especially for transactions. This is where it evolved into a block. And then you put the different sets of data and information step by step together. So that's the reason why it's called a blockchain. So one simple example would be, I will hand over to you money, 100 euro or 1,000 dirhams, and we will do the transaction. I will just forward this to you, and you will then give it to David, and David will give it to Alex, and on the blockchain you will read the full history of those transactions. That's a real simple way. But when it comes to the technology, it means that it is incorruptible, because when we talk about this transaction, you are the witnesses of all of this transaction. It's not a middleman, like a bank or anybody else. So this is really an independent way of doing transactions. We will have some more examples. So it was first described in 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto in a white paper where the blockchain technology describes the work stream of the cryptocurrency Bitcoin. So, and I think this is important. Blockchain is the underlying technology for cryptocurrencies, but not the only use case. We will see another use case, for example, how we use the blockchain in the real estate sector. So, but many people connect blockchain and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, but this is only one case. So there are many, many, many other use cases. But this is how they became famous, good and bad, because Bitcoin is sometimes working, sometimes not, as you know. So, but the blockchain technology itself is interesting. So the real need for rising technologies. We will see this especially for the real estate sector, but when you think of yourself, who uses Siri on the iPhone on a regular basis? So, can we get a mic here? Please raise your hand again. What do you need Siri for? What are you using it?
I mainly use it when I'm driving.
Okay, for what? Can you give an example?
To call somebody, directions, information, even send emails.
Okay, great. So actually, those little helpers, Siri, Alexa, and everything are like a personal assistants where you can just talk to the phone and can ask questions and they will answer this. This is not, in this case, artificial intelligence. This is rule-based learning. So because it was programmed that when I ask, okay, Alexa, how's the weather in Dubai the next week? Then Alexa has the rule to say, okay, search for Dubai weather next week. That was pretty easy. When it comes to artificial intelligence, and I would be asking Alexa, how's the weather next week in Dubai? Alexa would say, okay, the weather in Dubai next week is warm, 35 degrees Celsius. I checked your Outlook calendar. You are going to Dubai. I already checked the flight schedules. Frankfurt is really crowded. You have to leave earlier. You already ordered the Uber for 10 o'clock, but you should leave the house at 9. I rescheduled this, and I also put your swimsuits on the shopping list for Dubai because it's warm. That would be the next sense from machine learning to real intelligence, anticipating what will happen in the near future, collecting all this information. So my wife loves Alexa. We have 2 small kids, so she always orders diapers and whatever stuff via Alexa. So I do get all the notifications, and I'm sometimes scared what happens with all this computer and if my wife orders this or somebody else. So you never know. But back to the use case in real estate, since we're talking about our business life. So artificial intelligence can help us speed up processes. So that is the real need to improve the efficiency, save time and money. This is where those little helpers, like your example as well, Siri or Alexa, can help us making our everyday life easier. And for sure, everybody in almost every market is under competitive pressure. So everybody needs to grow. You cannot just stay stable. You need to grow to compete in this world environment. This is the real part why this technology is rising and already used and developing. In the blockchain, we just had the short example of forwarding money. So, like I said, taking the middleman out of the equation. So the normal way, if you would hand over money, would be you do this if you don't pay cash. You just do this via a bank transfer. The middleman would always be the bank. Could be whatever. Merrill Lynch, UBS, every kind of bank that acts as a middleman. So they have control over this transaction. I was working in a bank during this time. It took quite a few days for money being transferred, right? In some banks, it is still that way. And during this time, the banks are playing around with your money, right? Because they have tons of it and they do day trading. So this part of banking is called treasury. They do day trading with your money. You forward $500 to a friend and they keep the money for 2-3 days and play around. The blockchain at the end says, no, I do a one-to-one transaction without the middleman, but we have actually thousands of computers who are witnessing these transactions. And this guarantees an incorruptible way of handling your transaction. This is the major use case why blockchain will be more and more integrated. And even the banks are already using the blockchain and are working on this because for them it is a real danger. So if everybody would say, come on, we can do our transaction via the blockchain, it's not that easy as of today, but it will be in the near future. And if then everybody would say, I don't need a bank account, I will use the blockchain to transfer money, then the banks are in real trouble. They are anyway, but they're working on this to make sure that they are part of this development as well. So what's the real status? We had this examples of the gaming industry, and but the use cases where you can see it most is on checking contracts. Could be lease contracts, could be maintenance contracts, could be any kind of contracts that are used for transaction and portfolio. And this use test was a robot versus a lawyer. Our boss is a lawyer, so I can say that. At the end, the robot is smarter and cheaper. So they had a test. It was already last year with one of the largest software suppliers in this industry, testing an NDA. Everybody knows an NDA. It's everyday work. But for sure, you need to have lawyers who are getting paid per hour or per 10 minutes, depends on the law firm. And they're not really cheap in many cases. The result, fighting the robot to the lawyer, like IBM Deep Blue versus Garry Kasparov, is pretty clear. The highest performing lawyer had an accuracy of 94%. The lowest, 67%. The robot, stable, 94%. So whenever you have a talk and people think, okay, can I really trust this technology? The question is, do you trust your iPhone that it will wake you up the next morning at 7? Yeah, you just press a button and it will do. So it's the major issue, do we trust technology? When you sit on a plane, roughly 85 to 92% of the flight is done autonomous. It's a machine flying you. Actually, we do have the two guys sitting up front only for us, that we have a better feeling that they say, hi, welcome on board. Actually, we don't need them. We need them in an emergency. Good, but the rest of the flight, they're sitting there, hopefully not having gin tonics. But the average of those 20 lawyers had an accuracy of 85%, so that is -9 in regards to the robot. So the question would be, why should you do everything with a lawyer? And this is the same question the lawyers ask themselves. You will always need lawyers, just to be clear, so if no lawyer will throw tomatoes to me. At the end, you will need lawyers, but not for small, easy processes. This can be done by a machine. And this is the other side of the medal. The software takes 26 seconds to read, understand, and extract the information out of the NDA. Guess the time of the lawyer. What do you think? For a real NDA, not a standard NDA, 2 pages, a real sophisticated NDA. What do you think? How many minutes? What? 60 minutes. It is 94 minutes. 26 seconds, 94 minutes. Accuracy, 94, average, 85. So at the end, we can see AI, artificial intelligence, also another new technology rising, already happening, supporting. You probably don't know how many lawyers already use artificial intelligence to read their contracts, but still to sell you the hours and not the 26 seconds. You never know. Artificial intelligence, on the other hand, you see many startups telling that they are already implementing artificial intelligence, and in many cases, the work is done manually because they try to sell the marketing buzzwords. So that's the other side of the medal, and I want to be honest so that nobody's scared on the one hand what AI will take over, and on the other hand what tech companies are promising. So this is also another interesting number. So 40% of Europe's AI startups, they want to build technologies and want to work on technologies like artificial intelligence, but they are not there. This just started. So it's the beginning of technologies like AI, blockchain, and else, big data, many other autonomous driving, many other industries as well. But we're in the beginning, so nobody needs to be scared. Those technologies are only there to support us in everyday life. And many companies are not that far as they pretend to be. So the only real companies who are really ahead of everything are probably IBM, Google, some of the large major players. And it's the same with the blockchain. It was a strong discussion on the blockchain, but it was mainly around cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. So when you think of your, let's say, ERP software, you're probably not familiar, or with your bookkeeping software, do you know what technology is behind this program? Do you know it? Probably not. Do you know what kind of technology stack SAP uses? No, you don't know it. And actually, you don't care. You just want it to work, right? And blockchain is the technology that will support you in software products. But this is not the major reason to take care of this. It will be an everyday product at the end. So no need to be scared of new technologies. It will come step by step in certain products with real use cases. So how do other companies already use it? So for example, in property management, artificial intelligence is already used in software where you can automatically find, for shopping centers, this is relevant, the next tenant. So if you have a strong database with retailers who are expanding, and you will see, okay, I will have a free retail space from March 2020, the system can automatically detect which would be probably the right tenants for this size, price, area. So this is where AI is already in place. It's the same with data analytics and big data. The more data that are collected, the more the machine can learn how to handle this data and how to read this. So this is a strong part. Contract analysis, we just had the example of the NDA, but for sure in real estate, a strong part is on lease contracts and whenever you buy and sell assets. So especially for shopping centers and for developers, this is really a strong issue where AI is already in the markets. We have this asset management holistic circle where you see all the different areas: sourcing, underwriting, technical project management, leasing, sales, center management, all of this. We cover the sourcing underwriting part, the technical project management, sales, property, and center management with different tools where we already use AI and also blockchain together with our clients, where we develop those systematic tools. And this is now where it comes to examples, especially for shopping centers. So as a data room provider, we store your data on a high security platform where nobody else can access it. German service or Swiss service. Many of the clients also put it to Switzerland. It's GDPR compliant, and you go to the platform via web access, so you don't have it on your local systems, and you can have your full portfolio in one place. All the shopping centers, all the assets. We have fund managers working with these portfolio companies and, like I said, large shopping centers. We run all assets from UBS all over Europe, more than 300 assets covered in one data room. You can see pictures, all data, lease contracts, everything. So this is just to understand the product. And the most important part is that you can have third parties allowing access to this platform. For example, your property manager, your lawyer, tax advisor, all of those people. And you can take away this access. So the major advantage is that you are not sending out a document via email where you don't know what is happening. When you send out an email, you never know what will happen. You will never know who is forwarding this contract, this document, to what place, no matter what NDA, what contractual agreements you have. You lose control when you forward a document via email. In this case, you give access to a certain information, but you can remove it. And you have a watermark on it, and you probably can say you're not allowed to print this. You can just view it on the screen. You cannot even take a screenshot, technically disabled. And this is how you would cover it. You could probably have a shopping center, then the different spaces below, or a real portfolio with the different assets. You have an overview on everything, so it's all in one place. We call it the one true source, where you store relevant real estate information, documents in one platform. When you sell this is for sure our strongest part. When you sell a property, a transaction, you can run this also via the platform with all the Q&A process. You have the buyer or the bidding groups into this. And when you have many parties in a transaction, they all work on one platform. It's not sending around Excel files with Q&As and everything. So this is not how the system works at the end. This is a real strong highlight. It's called the Findings Manager. So you can define what set of keywords are relevant for you when you check documents and contracts. For example, for lease contracts, for maintenance contracts, you always take a look on break options, on expiration dates, on the tenant data. And whenever we always deliver a certain set of keywords, and you can adapt this to your work. So whenever a property manager uploads a new document for you, a new lease contract from the Mall of Dubai, the system will run automatically and chop the contract into all different parts and see, okay, that's the rent price, that's the break options, that's the expiration date, and it will show you all the results. You don't have to read the full 40-page contract. It will show it all on one page, and you'll say, okay, I got the information, and then you can work on this. And you can set a finding. A finding means I can define if this is a risk or an opportunity, especially for contracts. The runtime could be, on the one hand, an opportunity, on the other hand, a risk. Just an example. If you have an early break option of a lease contract, and you want to sell a shopping center, this could be an advantage, because if you sell it, you can say, okay, we can rent out this place for a higher price because of an emerging market. This will raise the price of the shopping center itself. if the area is not developing good and you still want to sell the shopping center and you have a long-running contract, this is an opportunity because you say, okay, this will raise the price as well. So this is not a risk. So you can define this and you say, in this case, this example says, it's a legislation note, and this is a medium risk for 120,000 euros, but we need to take and cross-check with the lawyer. If you don't find the spot where you see especially the risks, the lawyer from the other side will find it at the end. So that's also good for you when you work with technologies like AI. They will spot risks and opportunities beforehand. So the risk you are aware and can discuss in a transaction, and probably also put it in a warranty note. And the opportunity is good for you to know. If the other side don't find it, maybe it's a good way. Auto allocation is also an AI tool. When you take from a drive, from your computer, a set of 1,000 documents, you can drag and drop this into the data room, and the data room will read all the documents automatically and will put it to the right spots. Maintenance contracts, lease contracts, change of control clause, he will automatically allocate all the documents. There's no need to have somebody sitting there, normally a student job, to define all the index points where to put documents. This can be fully done by a machine. And with an accuracy of 85 to 87%. So 13% of the documents will be popped up showing you, okay, I don't know what it is. You have to allocate this by yourself. And when you do this, and you say, okay, that's a maintenance contract for the elevators, then the machine learns it for the next time. So this is where the machine learning part comes in as well. So this is just to give you an example where the technologies already are, which are used, in our case, by many large shopping center providers. This is another thing. It's called natural language processing. It is, in a nutshell, a document translation. So, for example, you can upload an English lease contract, and it will automatically translate this, and we're the only provider for this, to Arabic. We're the only data room in the world that can automatically translate all kinds of documents from English to Arabic, but in a security platform. Why is it important? Because when you use Google Translate and you fill in high confidential information in Google Translate, it's on service in the US, and they have, in regards to the Cloud and Patriot Act, the right to use the data. We don't. It stays on our service. We do the translation. It's your information. So this is the reason why we developed this tool, because our clients, real estate and banks, want to have this information confidential. That's the reason why nobody, especially in banks, is not allowed to use even Google Translate. Heat maps, who's using what to see if you sell properties, that's a real great case. You see who's looking at what documents for how long. So you can see who's really interested in buying this. When we see large portfolio transactions on a global level, you can really see who was looking at what document, and then it's pretty easy to find the real interested buyers. This is where we collect big data and then excerpt this to tell you, this is now where you can use new technologies to understand the interest of different parties. Yeah, a use case for the blockchain. We heard of all the cryptocurrencies, but nobody has cryptocurrencies. So I know a few people, but they're really, it's not a standard. Let's keep it like this. So we discussed already, like, especially for the transaction part, in real estate, a blockchain, where we see the first use cases is also for lease management, where you forward information step by step onto the blockchain. For example, if you rent out a space in a shopping mall, for this specific space, you would see the history step by step. So the first tenant was René Lézard, second tenant was Hugo Boss, third tenant was Palmas. So you would always see the history. You would see the rent prices per square foot, everything. But it's all passed forward onto the blockchain. So you will never miss any information on that chain, and it's also stored in a high security environment. That's the major issue where it's right now. In UK, we already see blockchain technology applying from the British Land Registry. In Germany, we are far away from this. It's all on paper in Germany, yeah? And the UK are already working on putting this digital onto the blockchain. So who is already using the blockchain and why? So those are the large players, Microsoft and EY. And I think for the banks, this is a real use case to see how they could use the blockchain to make international payments. So this shows you that even the, let's say, classic old economies are jumping onto this to understand how they could use and participate in this development. And they even have own departments for examining those technologies and what would be the advantage for them. And how are we using the blockchain? So whenever it comes to especially real estate transactions, normally at the end, all relevant information is classical burned on a DVD or on a USB stick or a whatever piece of hard drive. So this is old school because, as you know, you can lose USB sticks. DVDs have a runtime of 8 to 10 years. After that, you cannot read them if it's high security data or if it's scratched or anything. I've seen it also with a client. It's not a shopping center, but a bank. I've seen a DVD on a table of a portfolio manager, and he had the password on a sticky note on the CD. That's really high security, right? That's like putting your PIN code on your Mastercard. It's smart. Huh? It's like really my grandma. Yeah, son, now you have the PIN code on my credit card. It's so smart. So at the end, you really want to have confidential, high security information in a secure place. And this is why we are storing this on a digital archive. It's technologically an Ethereum blockchain. This is only the part of the technology. And we store this for the warranty period. Just to give you an example, it costs 300 euros per year. So it's really cheap. But we store all the information for all the large banks, all the shopping center providers on the digital archive. And you will ever see with the hash, this is like the security pin. It's not 4-digit, it's not 18-digit, it's 128-digit hash. So barely hard to type it in the computer. This is where it's secured. This is how it looks like, just to give you an example. And you can always access the platform and see the status of your data room. And whenever something has been changed, you would see it. And you can always go back and say, the status on the digital archive 3 months ago was this. And yesterday it was that. And then the hash, this is what we call the hash, this is the key. So it's even for a computer hard to find this. If you have a 4-digit key on your bicycle lock, that's pretty easy. You can just play around and say, okay, 4 numbers, it's easy to get. If it's a hash on a blockchain like this, it's actually software known incorruptible. So this brings a high set of data security on this blockchain. So we started this already a little more than 1 year ago, and we have more and more clients using the blockchain. Anyhow, they still want to have the USB sticks, to be sure, but they are adapting this step by step to say, yes, we will also store it on a digital archive, to be sure. A little running out of time. So the next slides to see what is coming next. So the next step, let's say you are a shopping center developer and you want to buy land or you want to buy an existing shopping center. You will get either a bunch of documents or like a hard drive, USB sticks, whatever, and you can upload this into the data room, and the data room will run through thousands of documents and will have this automated report right away. And it will say, okay, I found 12 highly critical issues with a risk of 31,000 euros, 5 critical ones, 3 important ones, 124 opportunities. Out of the full document set, 11,000 documents are up to date. 763 contracts are outdated, could be maintenance contracts, legislation issues, and 54 documents are missing for this transaction. And there is a set of deal-killing clauses, lease agreement for the properties is missing, and this is shown you on one dashboard. Then you can have, like, maybe you know the movie Minority Report. You will have this 3D overview when it comes to leasehold, rental period, public law approvals, where you can see what are the categories of the different issues, and then it will show you the text parts on each and every document, and then you can jump into the document and say, okay, this has to be checked by the lawyer, this has to be checked by the tax advisor, we will forward this to EY, this to PwC, this to the technical department, and this is actually how this works on a document data room, where all information that is uploaded can be automatically understood and filtered. And at the end, if you work with bidding groups and everything, you can just forward the red flag due diligence report to all the lawyers and say, okay, we just found the spots, now work on this to save time and money, to speed up the process of the transaction as well. And to come to a conclusion, at the end, we already see artificial intelligence in tech products, like in our data room, but also in many other software products. On the iPhone, on every kind of mobile device, we see it. The blockchain, we see also first use cases, but it's getting more and more. So it's the beginning. And I can only recommend to discuss with your teams, and if you probably have a chief innovation officer, digitization officer, talk to your asset managers, the property managers, the mall managers, what are they already using to have those small processes and the simple processes especially speeded up. And this is the recommendation I can give you, but there's no need to be scared on new technologies. I hear sometimes discussions on panels where they say, the robot will take all our jobs. This will not happen at the end. The machine will support us in making our life easier and making, let's say, the stupid things easy. That at the end, you will always have somebody checking the dashboard and deciding what is right, what is wrong. This cannot be done by the machine at the end. So whenever you have questions, you find my contact details. You can send me an email. I'm here all the 3 days. You can always come up to me. I will send you the slides. If you give me a business card, I will forward it to you directly via email. So feel free to contact me also on LinkedIn. Have a great conference. Thanks for your time. Thanks a lot. Maybe 2 more minutes for questions, if there are questions. Can we have the microphone here, please? Coming.
Yes, my name is Wael Balkhair from Sahat, Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Stephen, for the presentation. I got 2 questions. The first one is, how does this system integrate with other systems like the property management or ERB or document control systems? The second question, since you mentioned that there is a translation from English to Arabic, does the system also find the opportunity and the risk in Arabic written document? Do you have an Arabic OCR in your system?
Okay, great questions. Thanks. So this colleague was listening and asking the right questions. So integration of tools is one of the major parts of new technologies. So we integrate with other tools via the technology. It's called API. We have an open API, so we can integrate with tools like Yardi, even SharePoint. We have an integration with JLL, which is the largest real estate broker you probably know. We have an integration into their Salesforce. So to give you an example, when JLL runs a transaction, so they're selling a large portfolio or shopping center, they run a campaign on the system automatically. Who are the right investors for this portfolio? They press the Drooms button, and then all the investors are invited into a Drooms data room. They can run their due diligence, and we send back analytics to the Salesforce system, which they forward to their investors to see who is really interested in buying this and who's checking what documents. This is one of the use cases, but to answer the question, yes, we are integrating via an API into actually all systems that are connectable. Could be SAP, could be Yardi. So Yardi is really common in real estate, that's why I'm mentioning it. Second question regarding Arabic. So far, we only have the translation. The OCR is working, I think, in 8 languages, and Arabic is brand new. So I need to come back to this. I'm not sure if the OCR runs really in Arabic. Alex, could you answer the question? Is it running the OCR in Arabic? Yes. Okay, that's my colleague who's responsible for the MENA region, Alexander Groß, the one with the bold hair. So the answer is yes. Yeah, sure, it must be, because otherwise it cannot translate it. Easy to understand, yeah. So, but this is really interesting. Maybe another point on this translation part, because I really think it's relevant. The translation gives you an overview what kind of document this is, what are the main issues. If you really want to have a legal compliant document, you always need a professional translator, but it's one click and you see what is part of the document, and then you can decide if it is relevant to have a translation. Because many, many clients of ours like translate every document from whatever, Polish to English, English to Arabic and whatever, and many documents are not relevant to translate. Many, and you find it and you see, okay, it's a maintenance contract for whatever, a gas line, why should we translate it? It's not relevant for the deal. Perfect, great question though. Any more questions? So you can always talk to Alex Groß and to myself, and David, thanks for the great opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, you're all ready to go. So, just in case you didn't know, I am the next speaker. Okay, I am Arthur Karmazi, and okay, what we're going to do today is we're not going to do any PowerPoint stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to tell you a story. All right. So, in this story, of course, we have our characters, and okay, these are shareholders in a new shopping mall. Unfortunately, they're a little bit worried because a lot of the clients that normally would go to the shopping mall have been buying from Amazon and other online shops. And so now they're kind of a little bit worried, but each of these have specific characteristics. Like Rama, he is the hero of our story. And as heroes go, well, he basically has leadership qualities like taking responsibility, like making things happen, trying new things, being innovative. Of course, he does make mistakes, but he keeps on moving. And of course, we have Jack. Jack is the villain of our story. And of course, Jack is a lizard. Anybody, do you have lizards here in Dubai? That was a question. Okay, so what do lizards do? Let's say you're kind of walking by, and like you got a couple of lizards, and they go, hey, should we run? And the other lizard says, no, don't worry about it. These human beings, they don't care about us. Just let them walk on by. Do lizards do that in Dubai? No, lizards don't speak English in Dubai. Okay, what do they do? They run, they react, okay? And oftentimes when problems happen, well, this is what the villain does. He reacts, he creates all these big problems, and of course makes life difficult and frustrating for people around them. Then of course we also have Mary. Now Mary is very smart. She is very aware of what's going on. And in fact, she has a lot of solutions to a lot of the big problems, but unfortunately, Mary lacks in courage, and she doesn't really like conflict, and therefore, oftentimes, even though she knows the answer, she doesn't speak up. She doesn't really connect and communicate with the people around her to solve problems, and that really creates a lot of frustration. So, our heroes, our travelers, must try to find out the solution to improving the organization of the shopping malls that they are investors in. So what do? Okay, they find out that leadership has got to be the thing that they do. Because in order to really have an amazing shopping mall, what you need to do is you have to have an experience. But in order to create experiences, you have to be able to lead people in order to make sure that they deliver on those experiences. And so they find out that leadership training actually sucks. It has the lowest transfer rate of any of the other things, which, well, that's a problem, okay? So what they want to do is they need to go to a consultant. And what does a consultant say? The consultant basically gives them all the different leadership models. You've heard them, right? Transformational leadership, transactional leadership, okay? You've got autocratic leadership. You've got all kinds of different leadership models, and then you're going, oh my gosh, which one of these do I choose, right? How many of you have been to a leadership training course? Anybody? Okay, and have you ever been there? You learn all these really cool ideas, and you're thinking, wow, yes, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, and then later on, about 3 weeks later, how much of that actually gets used? Okay, so then, of course, there is the different kinds of values that we have, right? We should be kind, but we should be firm. We should keep barriers, but keep our door open. Okay, we should be flexible, but have structure. Okay, we should basically be innovative, but don't take risk. So you've got all of these different things that kind of contradict each other, and so people get confused, and we don't really understand how to be everything and create an environment that supports an amazing experience that will want to get people to come to our shopping mall. Okay? So, let's look at some of the research behind what works. All right? So, first of all, okay, the corporate leadership console, competencies, 66%. Okay? Identified different archetypes. All different archetypes are still successful. Okay? And then, of course, basically the only thing that all leadership models, or all leaders, all great leaders who have been identified have, one of the key things is the awareness of how they're affecting other people. That's it. Okay? The skills, all of the different things that people teach you, you have to have this, you have to have this, you have to have this, it is completely specific to the individual and the culture the individual is in. So that's the problem, is sometimes we think, oh, okay, if we do this and we do this and we do this, then we're going to get this. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think if the CEO of Google suddenly switched places with the CEO of Citibank, that they would do a good job leading each other's companies? Probably there'd be some issues, right? Because the culture is different. The leadership style is different. So if we understand the kind of leader that we need to be in order to create the culture that we need to create in order to get thousands and millions of people to come to our shopping malls every day because they're not just there to shop but to have an experience, well, then we need to have a different approach. Okay? So let's look at what some of the ideas are. Okay? So the 3 characteristics of a great leader. All right? So first of all, let's look at environment. How many of you have friends? Okay, only about like 7 of you. That's tragic. Okay, well, a few more. All right. Okay, sir, do you have friends? Okay, if not, don't worry. You can make some friends here while you're here. So don't worry. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you behave the same way with your friends as you do at work? Okay, that was a question. All right? So, and do you behave the same way at work than you do with maybe with your family? So usually your behavior is different. Would you agree with that? Now, here's the thing. Do you kind of suddenly come up and say, today I'm going to be like this because I'm going to work, so I'm going to behave this way, or I'm going to behave this way with my family? Or is it just because the environment brings out different facets of who you are? Do you notice how some group of friends, they make you crazy excited, and like other groups of friends, they kind of, make you, a little bit more stressed out? Sir, do you have friends? You look kind of like a party guy. When you go out with your friends, what do you do? You enjoy the times, okay? And where do you go? You go out, you have coffee, what? Okay, so you have some coffee, you enjoy times. Do you talk about stuff? What kind of stuff do you talk about? So what kind of things do you talk about?
The things in common between us.
Okay, so you just talk about like things in common. Now, what kind of coffee shops do you go to? You go coffee shops or dinner, or you go like, riding horses or anything?
No, they're just the normal coffee shops.
Just normal stuff. Okay, so let's say, and what's your name, sir?
Why?
Wyatt. Yeah. Okay, so Wyatt goes, let's assume that Wyatt goes out with the same friends, all right? Talks about the exact same thing, goes to the same places. Okay, now let me ask you a question. When you talk to your friends, are you like super excited, or are you kind of more calm and chilled?
The second option.
Calmed and chilled, okay. But now let's say he goes out, same friends, talks about same stuff, go to the same places, but now instead of being calm and chilled, he's like, whoa, this is what happened, and like, there's all the things that we have in common, all this stuff and everything else. Do you think that's going to have an effect on how his friends react? Okay, because this is what happens, see? The moment that you go into any group, okay, these people are affecting you, right? But you are also affecting them. So the culture that you create is literally part of the system. And you are the center of that system. So the moment that you start changing even one thing, will it affect the rest of the group? It will, right? So imagine that this is an entire culture of a shopping mall. Imagine that rather than having people going around, hey, how are you? Yes, thank you, I'm doing my stuff, and it's like everything else, that they're going like, wow, this is exciting, great that you're here. We like to have you because you spend more money, okay? And so you got all these different things, you got this exciting people over here, and you're creating a culture where people are creating an experience, okay? All you need to do is know what to change. Small behaviors can make a change in the entire organization. And you know what the best news is? You are in control. You are in control. Because you've been there, right? Some of these groups that you're in, some of them make you feel like, wow, you are amazing. And others kind of make you feel like, oh my gosh, when can I go home? But if you know what to change, you can affect the entire culture, the entire environment, okay? And now, of course, our heroes go on and they find the sword of awareness. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I need your help. Can you help me? That was a question. All right, so whenever Rama and his buddies find something like the sword of awareness, you have to say, dun, dun, dun. Okay, ready? Are you ready? Okay, the sword of awareness. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, that was pretty weak. Okay, you guys over there didn't even say anything. All right, ready? One more time. The sword of awareness. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, that was better. All right. So, okay, first of all, everybody please stand up. Like, actually stand up for, like, you know, on your feet. Okay, so, now, I want you to look around, and I want you to look at people's clothing, and I want you to notice everything that's on the floor, everything that's on your tables, and I want you to notice everything that you see that's brown. Everything that you see that's brown. Okay? Look around, look at people's clothes, look at everything that you see that's brown. Okay? You see everything? Look down, look around. Okay, got it? Now, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Okay, now I want you to remember everything. Close your eyes, I can see you. I want you to remember everything that you saw that was blue. Everything that you saw that was blue. Okay? Open your eyes. Now look around again. How much blue did you miss? See, sometimes, okay, now you can sit down. Sometimes, because we are so focused on one thing, we delete everything else. So, have you ever been in a situation where you have maybe an annual review? Does anybody have annual reviews? Okay? And at the end of the annual review, like, you know, there's this, you just like, there's this, you've been doing really well for the whole year, but month 11 comes and you make one mistake. One mistake. What do people end up focusing on? That mistake, right? It doesn't matter what you did for the rest of the 11 months. I mean, how many of you have children? Anybody have children? Okay, now, let's say your child comes home. They have 2 A's, 2 B's, 1 F. What do you focus on? You're focusing on the F. No, basically, this is what you're telling them, right? What you're saying is that we understand that everything else that you've done that has helped you to be successful is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is you failed here. Think about it. Is this the kind of psychology that we want to create in people and, or for that matter, children around us? Now, wouldn't it be better to say, wow, this is great, you got 2 A's. What was your strategy for achieving this success? Hey, maybe we could take that same strategy and apply it to this F. What do you think? How could we work through this to make that better? Is it possible that simply by focusing on the things that are going to support success, that we will be able to improve trust in the environment? And if we improve trust, is it possible that we can get people to be more excited, more engaged, and create environments and cultures in an organization to create experiences for our customers? Okay? So, the sword of awareness, dun, dun, dun. Okay? So let's look at how this affects. Okay? See, what you focus on, what you are aware of, okay, is also a lot of the feedback that you're getting. You're getting feedback all the time, right? And as a leader, you're also giving feedback all the time. So let's say, for example, you're giving feedback that is positive to create success. So you're identifying specific behaviors that people have, and you're saying, wow, this is great. We really like those behaviors. So if I tell you that something you're doing is good, do you think that you would do more of it? That was a question, right? But if I keep saying, oh my gosh, why are you always doing this? Why are you always doing this? Why are you always doing this? What ends up happening? We react, right? Does that affect trust? Does that affect engagement? Have you ever been in a situation where you think, oh my gosh, my boss is an idiot? Do you respect a person who doesn't really support you to be more successful? And then if you don't have the respect, you don't have the trust. And if you don't have the trust, does that mean that oftentimes you're not really engaged, excited to be at work? So, see, the feedback you get affects how you think of yourself. Okay, I used to be a child, for example. No, it's true, really. And what happened was that I have these problems with my brain. I have ADHD and dyslexia. And so my teachers used to compare me to all of the other students. And quite honestly, I just didn't compare. So they called my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Karmazi, your son Arthur is special. Okay, that's code word for stupid. And we would like to put him in the special children's class. And so off I went. And here I am in the special kids class, and there's this teacher. Her name is Mrs. Kelly, and she's always smiling, and she's always making me feel like, wow, you know, she accepts me for being stupid. But then the school changed the rules. They said, before you can go to high school, you must have an algebra class. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, algebra? I can't do that. Isn't that like math for smart kids? So, you know, anyway, I had to go. And so off I went. My very first report card. What do you think I got? An F. Yes, you are correct. I got an F. Of course I got an F. Everybody was not surprised. Not even my parents. My parents were very supportive. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay? But Mr. Backus, my 8th grade algebra teacher, had this very super shiny bald head, even shinier than yours, sir. Okay? And he sat with me, and he basically looked at me, and he says, Arthur, hey, can you solve this problem? And he wrote a problem on the board, a simple algebra problem. And then he asked me, can you solve this problem? And I did what they tell you to do at school. I went to show my work, write it down. He says, no, don't show your work. Just look at the problem and tell me if you think, or what you think the answer is. And I said, well, it's this. And he said, that's right. Okay, so he wrote another one, and he said, okay, tell me without writing anything down, what's the answer? And I said, it's this. And he said, that's right. And he said, Arthur, would you like some extra credit? And I'm, well, yeah, of course, I want to go to high school. He says, okay, Arthur, at the end of every school week, what we're going to do is we're going to have a competition. And you get to compete with other students in the class to do exactly what you just did here, and whoever gets the right answer first gets extra credit points, and you get to have up to 5 extra credit points every week. And I'm like, wow, okay, that sounds great. So the end of the week came, and I volunteered to do this, and it turns out I'm actually pretty good at this game. But here's the thing. I'm good at this game in front of my entire class of peers. And so after about 3 weeks, some of these other kids would come up to me and say, hey, Arthur, can you help me with my homework? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, these people think I'm smart. And so I'd come up with like, oh, you know, my mom, she's calling me, sorry. But then one day, Lynn Pachalski, this beautiful 8th grade girl, comes up and says, Arthur, can you help me with my homework? And I'm like, yeah. And I learned to be smart. I learned to be smart. Now, see, oftentimes, we don't allow people to show how great they can be. Because oftentimes, we're focusing on the process instead of the actual objective. And so we get people sometimes to do things in ways that it's not really natural for them. Or we put them in environments that don't support their ability to really show how great they can be. Let me give you a little bit of an idea of what we're learning here. How many of you have heard of directive communication psychology? Wow, that's great. You know what that means, right? A room full of new potential clients. Okay, so directive communication psychology is the science of group dynamics, right? And let me tell you, you want to know how it started? That was a question. Okay, well, okay, most people said yes, except for the one person that said no. Okay, so, all right, so here's what I'm going to tell you anyway. All right, so here's what happened, okay? I used to be managing director of this consulting company. And you know how sometimes, you know, you do things that are really good? So we used to create franchises. And I was really, really good at creating franchises. And so I thought, I am so awesome. And you know how sometimes you're good at one thing, and you start to think that that basically means you're good at everything? And so my head started to get a little bit big. And so I thought, wow, I'm so good at this. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to take one of my franchise ideas, and I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to implement this. And I took all of my money, and I put it into this thing, and I borrowed another $500,000 on top of that. And so a year and a half later, you know what happened? Not only was I broke, but I was $500,000 in debt. Now, being in debt for that much money is really no fun. Do not try this at home. Okay, so I needed to get a job. So I got this job, department head in this big giant company. And I'm very excited. You remember how when you first started working, how excited you were? I mean, it's like, wow, you've got, this potential, and you can see all the different things that are going to happen. You can see all these wonderful possibilities of what's going to happen. You remember that? And you're so excited. How many of you remember that? Only a few of you. Wow, okay. So I went and, I'm really excited, learning as much as I can, trying to come up with, all these really cool ideas, all this stuff. And so about 3 weeks later, you start noticing that all these people are blaming each other. And, I'm thinking, man, what is wrong with these people? But I figured, no problem. I know I can make a difference because I know that there's, great potential here. And I was excited, and I knew I could make an impact. So I'd come up with these really cool ideas. Have you ever had cool ideas? A few? Yeah? Okay. So I'd come up with these cool ideas, and I'd go and I would share them with some of the other department heads. And I'd say, hey, look, you've got some really, great resources here, and I've got some resources. Look at all the different things that we can do together, and we can do this and this and this. And they'd say, look, we understand you're new here. But look, you do your thing, because we're very busy, and we'll do ours. And I'm like, oh, man, no cooperation. So, but I knew I could make a difference. 4.5 months later, you know what happened? Without even realizing it, I started blaming people. And it's like these people over here and those people over there. And then people would come up to me and say, hey, Arthur, can you help me with this? I'd say, look, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. I got sucked in. See, I got sucked in to the environment. I got sucked in to the culture. And because of that, I became an underperformer. I started doing a lot of busy work. You know what busy work is, right? I'm just very busy. Always very busy. But it wasn't really very productive. And I wasn't really engaged. Because all these times I had tried something, people would always find a reason why it was no good. And so what happened was I had given up. I gave up that this job that I had would really support my greater success. And I became disengaged. And it not only affects your ability to do your job and being innovative, but it affects how you just even approach the attitude towards other people. It's, yeah, okay, I'll do it, whatever. And oftentimes I find that in a lot of the organizations that we work with, this is a big problem. The attitudes have been diminished, not because the people aren't capable, not because the people don't have skills, not because the people don't have the potential for passion, but because the environment is not supporting their personal success through the organization. And so one day I decided I was going to go and talk to these bad people, these people who are making my life difficult. I found out something completely unexpected. I found out they were real human beings. I found out that they were also just like me. That they also had the idea to do teamwork and cooperate and make things happen, that they also were passionate and lost it. And so I'm thinking, wait a minute, it's not them. It's the environment So that's when I was taking all this busy work that I was doing, and I started to try to solve my own problem, which was find out why high-performing people become underperformers in the wrong environment. And so all of the stuff after about 9 months basically came to be the framework of what was later known as the directive communication psychology. And some of that's what we're going to be learning today. So, within that amount of time, we ended up just applying a few of these elements within the organization. We ended up saving the company $17,000 a week in wastage, just by applying leadership skills. Okay? So, what does that mean? Basically, different competencies that you have appear in different environments, but some environments can actually hinder your competencies. Okay? So, number one, a great leader, okay, creates a safe environment where others can feel successful. Okay? Take a picture. Number one, write it down, do something so that you remember. All right, ready? Got it? Okay. And moving forward. Oh, wait. Okay. You got it? Okay, quick, quick, quick. Here, take a picture of me too. There we go. All right. Okay, got it? Okay. So, now they go into the jungle and there they find the armor of excellence. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, come on, guys. Okay. The armor of excellence. Dun, dun, dun. And you notice, okay, you sometimes have the lizard in your organization, right? Okay, so they're reacting because, well, basically they're not feeling valued, they're not feeling respected, right? There's no trust, misunderstood. Okay, how many of you know people like this? Always reacting? Okay? Then, of course, the observer. Oh, you know, I wish I could say something, but what if I'm wrong? You know, it's not safe. Maybe I'll get blamed. Maybe people aren't going to accept my ideas. Okay? And then, of course, the hero. I understand my environment, and so I act intelligently so that I can succeed in it. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been the lizard? Have you ever been the lizard? Okay? Have you also ever been the observer? Have you ever been a Mary? Okay? Where you know something, but, you know, it's just so difficult. And then, of course, have you also ever been the hero? Have you been the hero? So all of these characters, the hero, the villain, the observer, it's all us. But the goal is to be more hero, less lizard. Does that make sense? So now our heroes basically go off to the beach, and they got to figure out what is the ideal working environment. Now let me ask you a question. Do you think that people have the same idea for the ideal working environment or a different one? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to test it. So get into groups of 4 or 5, depending on how many people are in your row, all right? And I'd like you to just discuss, really quick, 3 to 5 different ideas of your ideal working environment. Okay? Are you ready? Go. Okay, 30 seconds more, 30 seconds more. All right. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Okay, so first of all, anybody want to give me some insights? Was it yes, sir. Okay, was it similar or different? Yeah, in your case, similar or different? Similar. Come on up. Come in. Come here.
You sure?
Yeah. I want to give you a free book.
I'm feeling like a Mary now.
Yeah.
I got myself in trouble.
Okay, so here's what happened here. Okay, so just to let you know, this book is going to help you to create and predict how to create high-performing teams. Okay, so it's got the psychology of how
giving me something.
I am giving you something.
I wanted me to be up there.
Oh, well, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Okay, you're good. So I'm going to give you the book for free. Okay, so you are very welcome. So okay, so now did you find out that there basically were very similar ideas? Okay, so here's the thing. I've done this in 57 different countries. Okay, different cultures, different age groups, different people from CEOs to janitors. It's always similar. It's always similar. Okay, so here's the thing. Basically, fundamentally, it's something related to teamwork. Okay, so people want more teams, want to have, connect with teams better. Okay, something else is also going to be related to trust. Oh, be able to be autonomous, let people do what I know I need to do. Okay, or being accountable, knowing that people are going to do what they're supposed to do. Okay, kind of a sense of, do I know, is there some transparency? So something related to trust. Okay, do I have the opportunity to be innovative? Okay, the other one is something related to clarity. Something related to clarity. Do I know what I need to do to achieve X? Okay, is there a clear path? Okay, is there a vision? Am I connected with everybody? Are people giving me clear instructions? Is there good communication? Okay, something related to clarity. Then something related to a supportive environment. Okay, can I go to the finance department without telling me that they're very busy? Can I go to the HR department and ask them for something where they actually are going to find a solution to a problem that I have instead of saying, we're very busy? Can I go to the CEO and the CEO listens to my ideas? So a supportive environment. And finally, something related to fun. Okay, something related to fun. Would you agree? Okay? So here's the thing. If we have the same vision, why can't we achieve it? It's because we're focusing on the process instead of the objective, okay? And so everybody's got their own idea of how to do things. So instead of actually saying, hey, this is teamwork, we've got, no, you should do teamwork like this, or you should be like that, or you should be like this. And so therefore, that's where we get mixed up. That's where we end up going wrong. And the only way to really fix this is to create a culture. But how do you know? How many of you have a culture? Everybody. Okay, whether it's a good culture or a bad culture, doesn't matter, right? You have a culture in your organization right now. You have one. Okay, whether you're creating amazing experiences in your shopping malls or just average ones, you still have a culture. Okay, now, if you're going to improve something, what do you need to do? What's the first thing you need to do if you're going to improve something? Change it? Well, okay, take steps to change it. But before you take the steps to change it, don't you need to know where exactly you're at? You need to benchmark it. That's the first thing you got to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a tool, okay, that basically helps people to know whether they're on the right track in creating the culture that you need to create, okay? So this tool, okay, is the Culture Evolution Assessment. So benchmark your culture. So take a picture of this, okay? So this is a tool that you can use to identify, to benchmark where your culture is at. And then 1 month later, 2 months later, after you're doing your initiatives, your leadership development, whatever, you can check. Okay, but let me ask you a question. Besides just seeing where you are, what other benefits would it have to show that you're making progress on improving your culture? Emotional benefits. Think about it. Okay, you're in a situation where you are working on something, right? Okay, and then suddenly you see that what you're working on is working. How do you feel about that? You feel good, right? That was a question. Okay, and when you're feeling good, that means that now you're more excited, so you're actually more capable and more focused on doing all these great things. So now your focus starts to change towards achieving that higher level of culture. Why? Because now you see that what you're doing is working. You see that you're on the right track. You have that clarity. Okay, so the first thing that we've got to do is we've got to measure stuff. But here, let me ask you a question. Do you measure KPIs to achieve culture? No, you measure KPIs to achieve results, right? So let me ask you a question. Does anybody here have Facebook? Instagram? Anybody on Instagram, Facebook? All right. So let me ask you a question. Do you check how many people like your posts? Okay, now how do you feel? Oh, wow, I got 50 likes on this. Oh, I got 100 likes. Okay, oh, I got comments, I got shares. The more you get, does it actually make you feel good? Which basically means Facebook, Instagram, okay, has gamified your life. So let's say you're doing a performance review. How long does it take between performance reviews? 6 months, 1 year? So think about it. Oh, wow, how am I doing? Oh, I'll have to wait 6 months before my performance review, so I don't really know. Okay, but don't worry, 2 weeks before my performance review, I'm going to really work hard. We are in the PFB era, the post-Facebook era. We need instant gratification. We need to see things now. We need to be measured now. We need to see how am I doing. Okay, we need to gamify our success, but rather than gamifying KPIs, because it takes a long time to do those. What about something instant like behaviors? What if you work backwards? What if creating an amazing environment, okay, one of the behaviors was be extraordinarily energetic. For example, okay, being extraordinarily energetic, would that have an effect on the environment in a shopping mall? If all of your staff were like super energetic, okay? So now, could that behavior be measured? It could, right? But are you going to measure it like every year, every 6 months? No, that's something that can be measured daily if it's easy, fast, and simple. So one of the key things to be a great leader is to measure behaviors, not only KPIs, because the behaviors that are going to create the culture that you want to create for the experience that's going to make your malls have an advantage over others, that experience is going to be related to the behaviors that create the culture. Does that make sense? So, measure behaviors. So how do we do that? Well, there's a tool for that too. So this particular tool is essentially gamifies behavior. But here's the most important part. It only takes 20 seconds or less to actually do a measurement, to create a data point. 20 seconds. So it's the same as a WhatsApp. It only uses emoji and awards that you basically design and modify and create this whole thing. So I'm not going to go into the tool, but check it out. This is a tool that supports instant measurement that can be used specific to behaviors that are going to help you create the cultures to achieve the experiences. Okay, everybody got it? Squadly.com. Okay, and now, of course, we go into the forest and they find the band. You know how the bands are, right? You know, you go into the band and people are playing and stuff, and you know, they got different kind of characters. Okay, so before we talk about the band, because the band's name is Clarity, and each of these people have a different way of getting clarity. So before we do that, I'd like you to stand up for a moment. Okay, and you'll notice there's some colored glasses on your desk. Okay, you see the colored glasses? All right, okay, so I would like you to put on the colored glasses. Okay, put on the colored glasses. And photographers, please come over here and take these pictures. Okay, please put on the colored glasses. Everybody got your colored glasses? Now, I want you to look, okay, so you guys over here, this side of the room, you are team 1. What team are you? Team 1. Now, I want you to look around and see who is on your team. Okay? And you guys over here, you are team 2. Okay? Look around. See who is on your team. All right? You see it? Okay? Everybody got it? Okay. So, now, what I'm going to do in a moment is I am going to show you some arrows. Team 1. Okay? You are going to follow the light-colored arrows. The light-colored arrows. Okay? Team 2, you're going to follow the dark-colored arrows. Dark-colored arrows. Okay, you got that? Okay, now, the idea is, okay, see that wall? That's a goal. And this wall over here, that's another goal. So depending on which direction your arrows are pointing, what arrows are you following? What arrows are you following? Light. So depending on what direction the arrows you're going are pointing, you are going to, the team that touches the right wall first is going to be the winner, okay? That was a question, okay? Clear? All right. So here we go. You ready? First team to touch the right wall wins. Okay, so team 1, where are you? I got a few guys from team 1 over there, a whole bunch of people from team 1 over there. Okay, team 2, where are you? Oh gosh, you guys are all mixed up. Okay, never mind, come back to your seats. No winners, that is tragic. Okay, so let's look at what exactly happened here. All right, scenario number 1. Did you notice that there were some people who basically argued about it? No, we should go this way. No, we should go this way. We should go this way. Did you notice that? Okay, now, scenario 1, people argue about it. Okay, scenario number 2. Okay, there were some of you that knew that this is for sure, it was obvious, this is the right way to go, okay? And then other people was like, no, but that's wrong, but you followed them anyway, okay? So you're being Mary, okay? You followed them even know that they were wrong. Did that happen? Yes. Okay, and scenario number 3. It's like, obviously, these people don't know where I'm going. I'm just going my own way. I don't care about them. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you need to be going in the same direction to achieve the same objective? No, you don't. But what you do need is feedback, right? You need to be in a situation where you can communicate. It's like, oh, okay, I know that this is the right way, and you see that as the right way. Hey, that's okay. You try that way, you try this way. Let's see which one works better. But I want to show you something, okay? I want you to put on your glasses just for a moment. Okay, put on your glasses just for a moment, okay? And then I want you to switch with somebody else that's got different colored glasses. Now switch with somebody that's got a different color. Okay, you got it? So here's the thing. Have you ever been in a situation where you are so clear? I mean, it is just so obvious, you're so absolutely sure and clear that that is the right direction to go. And somebody else, okay, you explain it to somebody, okay, and they say, yes, I understand. And then they go and do something completely different. Okay? Because what you're showing them, they see it, but they're looking through different colored glasses. This is called the brain's ambiguity relief process. It's a genetic way that our brain gets clarity. And because our brain gets clarity in different ways, the process of action in order to get clarity is also different. And so therefore, sometimes when something looks like, I mean, it's just so common sense, it's so obvious this is the right way to go, and other people are going in the wrong direction, you're going, oh my gosh, what is wrong with these people? And yet, what they're thinking about you is like, oh my gosh, this person, how can they possibly see that? It's common sense, you gotta go this way. So the brain's ambiguity relief process, there are fundamentally 4 primary processes, okay, that we as human beings have in order to get clarity. And I'm going to show you these, and I'm also going to give you an opportunity to take the online test for free and be able to find out your own brain color. Okay? So first one, we've got the green brain. This is chaotic processing. All right, now, what does the chaotic processing mean? Basically, it means nothing is connected. So you're kind of like everywhere over here. You're not, you're over here, and it's like, okay, you start to think of stuff, even just like, hey, here's a clicker. I've got a new idea for an online store. Okay, so you don't need any special amounts of information. You just think of stuff, and then you can put it in any direction you want. But the way that a green brain gets clarity is through action. Okay, they're like coming over here and it's like, hey, what do you think about this? Okay, or what do you think about that? And trying to get some feedback. And they're kind of going around and trying, all these different new things. Why? Because action for a green brain gets clarity. Now, because it's an action-oriented type of process, what ends up happening is that the green brain also makes more mistakes than any other brain color. But because they're so fast and action-oriented, they are able to actually solve their mistakes faster than any other brain color. In fact, sometimes they solve the mistakes before anybody's even realized they've made a mistake, and sometimes if they make a big mistake, they come up with even a better solution than the original one. So this is how a green brain gets clarity. They get a little bit of information, okay, take action, a little bit kind of see what's going on, okay, a little more information, more action, how's it going, more action, action, action. So it's very action-oriented, and this is how they get clarity, okay? But now there's the purple brain. See, the purple brain, everything is connected, and it's connected through data and information. So the more information, the more details that a person has, that a purple brain has, okay, this is called relational processing because everything is related. So the more information, the more details, the easier it is to get the different options. So I get more information, I get more details, I get more, I find all this stuff in this, like, okay, now I can see option 1, option 2, option 3. Now, of course, a lot of times the purple brains are misunderstood because it takes a long time to get all of this information and all these details. But see, if a purple brain makes a mistake, what happens? Well, they already have a second option. So, okay, well, option 2 didn't work. Let's try option 1. Okay, so now they're able to go back, maybe get a little bit more information, and set it up so that that option is ready to act on. Now, because purple brains also are very detailed, and they know they're very detailed, sometimes it's very difficult for purple brains to delegate to other people. So they get clarity through information. Lots of information. So they get information. Okay, a little more information, more details, and then they analyze the options, and then finally take action. Now, the red brain's all about structure. So the red brain gains clarity through identifying, finding, or creating structure. So any project, any process that they look at is a linear process, okay? If this plus this are together, they equal this. So it's a very logical, linear process, okay? But in order to do that, how does this fit here? So where is the structure? How does this connect to this? So they have to actively find or create or develop the structure in something in order to get clarity. Now, the red brains actually make the least mistakes of any other brain color. But if they do make a mistake, okay, where do they have to start? Start at the beginning, okay? Because, okay, here, these are the facts. And if they make a mistake, well, maybe the facts were wrong because we ended up putting it together. And they kind of put it together. How does it fit? Analyze. And then if it's clear, then they will take action. And then, of course, finally, the blue brain, which is called intuitive processing. Now, you know what intuition is, right? That's when the universe comes down and tells you what to do. Or, scientifically, it could mean that your brain has a lot of stored subconscious experience that you're not aware of, and blue brains simply have more access to this, which they don't know where it's coming from, so it seems like intuition. So what happens is that the blue brain, because everything's connected, is kind of connected through this sensitivity, this feeling about what's going on, and they just kind of like know this person is like this and feel this person's like this and kind of are, you know, empathetic to what's going on in people's feelings, and so they're just aware of all these different things that are going on, and connecting that with subconscious experience in a reflective way basically makes the blue brains get clarity. And this is all happening all at the same time. A little information, a little bit of kind of sensing, a little action, all at the same time. So blue brains are also very good at multitasking. Okay, so what does this all mean? This basically means that sometimes we are brain racists. Think about it. This is a genetic process. You can't change it. And yet, how many times have we looked at people and we go, oh my gosh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing it that way? Okay, let's just do it this way. Can you imagine a green brain boss, okay, and his purple brain subordinate gives him a report, and suddenly the green brain boss looks at this 12-page report that was supposed to be a simple one, looking at this like, I'm not going to read this. Just give me a summary on one page. How does the purple brain feel? Do they feel like, oh, I'm not appreciated? And what about the purple brain boss who gets his green brain subordinate? Give me a report. So the green brain gives a nice report, one page with some graphs, nice colors. And then the purple brain looks at it, what about this detail? What about this detail? What about this deal? And the green brain's going, oh my gosh, why does he want me to waste my time on all these stupid things when I could actually be doing some real work? And so we have these different perspectives, these different processes that affect trust because we are accidentally judging people by the color of their brain. So if you understand the color of your brain, you're going to be able to set people up for success instead of failure. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you, okay, go to coloredbrain.com. This code is not your password. This code is the code. You have to set up an account so that you can access it. This code is going to give you the access to the test. So when it asks you to put a test code in there, use this. It'll give you the test for free. Now, on top of that, after you do the test, it's going to send you another email with another code so that you can also include somebody that's important to you. It could be somebody in your organization, or it could be your wife or your husband. Okay? So, everybody got it? So now, basically, here is the fundamentals, okay? If we're going to sustain leadership, you got to be true to yourself. Okay? You got to do it in such a way where instead of changing the person, you simply help that person to be the best that they can be. If they're green-brained, they're going to be really creative and do all these crazy stuff, and they're going to be action takers. Let them be the best green-brained person. If they're purple-brained, don't try to make them something they're not. Help them to be the best purple-brained person that they can be. Help people to focus on their strengths and develop their leadership identity, their ideal leadership identity from the culture that you are trying to create and the kind of person who they are and their processes. Be true to yourself. Leverage on the strength of others. The third principle of leadership. Oh, wait, sorry, you want to take that? Okay, ready? I'm going to show these again in a minute anyway. Okay, and of course now we go to the final thing, the helmet of victory. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, come on guys. The helmet of victory. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, and with the helmet of victory, of course, we find out that, if we create a culture that supports the strengths, okay, are we more motivated? If your strengths are supported through your culture, absolutely. Okay, and will a leader from Google be equally as effective at Citibank? Develop the leader within the culture they're in. Okay? Measure behaviors regularly to basically keep people making sure that wow, I'm doing this right. I know I'm on track. I keep on going, giving them clarity and motivation. Or you can be like Jack. And so finally, Jack freaks out, comes back, tries to, blow fire at Rama, but now we are ready to go. Now I want to give you one last gift, okay? But this one, okay, there's a gentleman in the back named Gotham, okay? And he's shaking hands with somebody. Gotham, say hi, okay? All right, so he's in the back, and he's going to give you a card, okay, that's going to give you a free gap analysis, a free leadership gap analysis, okay? And important to know is that, okay, if we are going to build organizations, if we're going to build experiences in our shopping malls, in our retail experiences for people to actually come, we have to go for culture. We have to create a group of people where we are supporting each other to hold each other accountable for the three elements of leadership. Okay? And so this is the perception gap analysis. If you find Gotham at the back, he's going to give you one of these things. You just got to give him your business card, okay? And this will help you to identify, how sometimes you think you're really a good leader and maybe you're being supportive, but your staff actually thinks that you're a control freak and you don't know and they won't tell you, okay? Well, this gives you that perception gap analysis. And finally, okay, if you want to develop high sustainable leadership and high-performing cultures in your retail organizations, you can contact Gotham and get me and my team to set that up for you. So, with that, thank you very much. And we have 2 seconds for questions. One question? Yes, in the back.
Good morning, Arthur.
Good morning.
I think it was very insightful and engaging session. Got a lot of perspectives on the significance of culture.
Thank you.
I'm also a passionate kind of a driver of culture in my organization, being a head HR for a large company. And I've also just written a book, the title is Plan C, which is on the culture. And I start this question by a quote that culture eats strategy, all 3 meals. And who serves the meal is the CEO. Yeah?
Okay, so actually, if you're going to create a culture strategy, if you have a top-down system, it won't work. Not today.
Right.
Okay? In order for a culture strategy to work, it has to be top-guided, bottom-up strategy. Okay?
Right.
We do our culture change programs. Within 2 weeks, people see visible results, and that's because the people themselves are creating the culture that they want, but it's all in line with what top management decides. But the thing is that for it to work now, because everybody wants to see instant, you have to show instant results. So CEO doing the culture change top down doesn't work.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You are very well. Wait. Because you asked a question, okay, you are also going to get the Colored Brain Communication Field Manual.
Thank you, Arthur.
Okay. And this is, of course, the book on colored brain. There you go. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you so much. My pleasure. Okay. And I think that's it. Any other, maybe one last question? Okay, yes, you have a question. Hey, I can't give you another book, though.
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much for the class. Is there a possibility in terms of the brain colors to have a schism between,
Okay.
bridging the gap between different kinds, or is it specifically only?
Let me just kind of give you, because this is a very short period. I mean, a colored brain program is actually 2 days long, okay? But let me just kind of give you really the basics on that. Okay, let's say you're a green brain, okay? Chaotic processing. Now, a green brain naturally does not necessarily analyze things. They kind of like see things and they come up with ideas and stuff like that. But, okay, are you familiar with the concept of neuroplasticity? Okay, neuroplasticity basically means if you're in a situation where you have to do something and you do it repetitively, whether it's even behavior or, for that matter, even attitude, you can change. Now, that's the structure of your brain that changes. Okay, so even if you're green brain and you become analytical, you're analyzing in a green brain way. Okay, you're not analyzing in a red brain way. You're not being structured. You're doing it, but still according to your process. See, colored brain or the ambiguity relief process deals with the regulation of neurotransmitters that create the connections, not the actual connections themselves.
So basically, you're not stuck with one particular genetic brain thought.
No, you
can
are.
actually win.
You are stuck with one genetic process, but that process you can do many different behaviors with that process. So the behavior does not equal the process.
Understood.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay, here. I've got one more, but tell me who to give it to. Okay, well, you rose your hand. Okay, so I'm going to give you this. This book is on how to develop an organizational culture, and this one has the case study also that we did with Emirates for organizational culture change. Okay, and of course, if anybody wants to, look at, I've got a few more books in the back. Anybody wants to talk to me or Gotham, we're right back here. And ready for the next speaker. Give him a hand. Who's it? Okay, all right. I'm good. Come on up. Okay, so I'll be back here if you guys need me.
Okay, so thank you to the speakers before. It's been a really engaging session. I don't have a book, but I do bring 3 for the price of 1, okay? So my name is Scott Ellis. I'm the retail industry lead with IBM Middle East. It's great to be invited back to another event like this, and we're very proud to be part of the Retail Congress. We're delighted to bring a team from IBM who are focused on helping retailers and mall operators to disrupt themselves from within and to thrive as a result. Have we got slides that we can share? I'll do introductions as we go. So a lot of the work that IBM do in the customer experience space is driven by IBM iX. It's one of the largest digital design agencies in the world. Through acquisition, IBM has sought out expertise and capabilities that are relevant to our customers, particularly relevant in the retail and consumer industry space. And we work with retailers and mall operators in this region through our IBM iX practice. We have a design studio in Dubai Design District, D3. And IBM iX is a next-generation services organization dedicated to creating personalized experiences. We work at the intersection of strategy, creativity, and technology. We create experiences that your customers can't do without and that your competitors can't compete with. So as I said, my name is Scott Ellis. You would have seen the names there. I've worked closely with this group on a number of learning sessions, and this is our first retail congress. I'm delighted to bring a team here today. As I said, a lot of the work that we do is from the iX space, and we bring Asma, who is a digital strategy and creative experience expert, and we bring Owen Farrow, who is leader of the consumer industry for Middle East and Africa. Now, I could spend a lot of time, and at these conferences, you typically see innovations and technologies that leading retailers are putting in place. You go home either the next day or the next week, and you try and instill in your organization that this is the next big thing. Endless aisle, magic mirrors. And the pressure is always on. I mean, only last week, Adidas, leading global sports retailer, opened their flagship store on Oxford Street, 27,000 square foot over 4 floors. And they call it a hyper-localized hub. Essentially, a lot of retailers like Adidas are appreciating that consumers want to complete their transaction or at least involve online in the process. And what they're not trying to do is direct them to your e-commerce site or your website or your store. They're appreciating the channel that customers want to use for what it is. And they're repurposing the physical environment to be a theater, to allow customers to immerse themselves in the brand culture and to get close up with the product. And this store, like a lot of stores you'll see opening right now and over the last year, does exactly that. It allows, it's got apparel for men, women, and children, but it's got creative areas where you can tailor your product, personalize. It attracts events. You can customize your football jerseys, your trainers, your sportswear. And it allows entertainment space for London artists. It features artwork from London graffiti artists. And it includes apparel which is unique to London, so customized to the town and only available in that store. And so it very much acts as a destination. And while in the store, there's obviously a lot of technologies and innovations. I mean, if you see this, you probably guess where they're going with what I'm about to talk to you about, an innovation in the store. When you go into the changing rooms, RFID tags alert the mirrors as to the merchandise you have. It tells you more about the product. Now, I could have been here 2 or 3 years ago telling you the same story, and a lot of retailers have tried this. A lot of retailers you go into now, the screen is not working, or one of the screens is not working. The merchandising doesn't work. Adidas are finally maturing the technology that they're instilling it with confidence. While in the changing room, you can change your size, you can change color without leaving, which is very relevant to an environment like this. I was with Al Tire Group for 5.5 years. When we designed Bloomingdale's Kuwait, 40% of that store was private to special customers because they want privacy, they want to be able to change in comfort with friends and family. So you don't have to take off all your clothes, try on something, and then find out it's the wrong size and walk back out to have to, put everything back on to go and get another size. You can call it in. They also have an app that is contextually relevant. That app is an Adidas app that anyone outside the store can use to search product. But when you're in the store, it allows you to add to your basket, fulfill in store, even pay in store, and walk out. Using Amazon Go type technology, you're basically eliminating the queues and eliminating collection points. But we've got a great agenda of speakers at this event. Kate Trotter is speaking. We've got the founder of Wired UK speaking. There's no point in you coming to conferences like this and hearing about what store is doing that, what technologies are being put in, and then running back and saying, this is the answer, this is what we need to do. You're always going to be chasing your tail if you don't know who you are and what's right for you. So I could talk about what retailers are doing, but the real question of interest is, why are they doing it? Why is Adidas putting those technologies, focusing on in-store experiences, putting an app there, allowing people to use it in the store? In their stores now, you don't even see price tags. You don't even see printed promotions, because they know who they are. They know how their shoppers want to engage them. They want to have a destination. They want to allow the tools for people to interact the way the customer wants. As mall operators and as retailers of other brands, that may not be relevant to you. It may not be in your power. Adidas owns the brand, they own the marketing, they own the image, they can change everything. In this region, a lot of franchise operators come to us and say, I get the product, I own the experience, but I can't change certain elements. I have to operate within boundaries. That's fine. So what should you do starts with why. What do you want to achieve? And it's great that I have Asma here, who's going to focus now on why organizations like Adidas are doing what they're doing. And once Asma is complete, then Owen will talk to you about the tools that you can use right now so that when you answer the why question, you can leave here and tomorrow start implementing what's right for you. So I'll hand over to Asma.
Thank you, Scott. Yep. Can everyone hear me okay? So Scott initially just gave a little bit of an introduction about IX. I joined IX a year ago, and I feel that's better. So largely our conversations are about how experience impacts your overall strategy and how you can future-proof your organizations for the next 10 years. And a little bit of a background about myself is that before IX, I was working in our AI and IoT section for a couple of years, and it was there that department is known for what is the art of the possible. And in that period, I started to understand the impact of technology and what it can do to future-proof your business. So the presentation that I'm going to do, or the conversation I'm going to have with you today, is largely an explorative study that I've done that maps out where were we as organizations 20, 30, 50 years ago, and how has technology, consumer behavior, and trends evolved and has impacted the way that we run business. And I'm going to start with, oh, wrong button, about in the 1970s. So historically, in the world, there have been two major episodes where economics influenced the way business models were created. And the first was in the 1970s, where organizations and industries like oil company and car manufacturer, they boomed. The reason was that for you to produce any product, you needed to put in a lot of fixed investment. And so whatever you created was what consumers brought. So essentially, if you had a factory, if you were able to manufacture clothes, if you were able to manufacture oil, you knew that you were pretty much in a safe space, because your competition were companies that were willing to spend that much money. Your competitive differentiator was economies of scale. And a little bit similar was still in the retail industry. So what was the model of Saks Fifth Avenue? Saks Fifth Avenue used the same supply side model where they would buy the inventory, they would host it in a huge retail section, and people would come to buy it. So essentially, it was the pipe model where the producers might be, there was the producer, they would go on another entity that would distribute it, the next entity would market it, and then it would go to the user. And this model was replicated by larger, almost like all of the industries in that day, in the 1970s till the 1990s. So I'll give an example of the retail industry. So you would have a brand like DKNY, which would produce the stuff, but it would hand over all of the stuff to Macy's, which would be the front-end distributor of that wear. Macy's would buy these products, and then it would sell to the users. So here, Macy's was the entity that had the closest connection with the user. And that gave Macy's a lot of control and power, because it had the insights, the data on how customer user patterns were. And then, all of a sudden, the internet came, and things changed as we know it. And this change was largely based on the fact that, excuse me, businesses were now becoming digital. So the accessibility was being democratized. You were not only just limited to going to a store and buying your wear, you had access to all of the stuff online. And this had a massive impact in customer behavior. Companies like, all of the online companies like Amazon, Alibaba came into play and created a competitive differentiator and became hugely successful because it was all about instant access and, again, accessibility. Again, the same example, Amazon. Amazon was one of the first, I would say, platform digital companies that started to impact the retail industry. When Amazon came into being in 1990s, it started out with a store, right? A front-end store. And it had all of the retailers coming in. It would buy the stuff and it would resell that model. So it became that online interface. But what else happened is that during this time, companies did not realize the impact of digital. So companies like Tesco, Borders, even Barnes & Nobles outsourced their whole online wear to Amazon without thinking about the repercussions and the consequences. So what really happened is that Amazon learned on Tesco's dime. Amazon learned on Borders' dime. And because it was closest to the customer, it started getting a lot of power based on the insights and data. And we all know what happened to Borders or Barnes & Noble at this point. At this point, when you started talking about online businesses, something else was happening. There were platform companies being created. And essentially, what are platform companies? These are digital companies that facilitate the exchange of values. So Alibaba here, right? It is a Chinese behemoth. We all know the existence of Alibaba. But how did Alibaba came into power? Or how did it really came into existence? Because it understood a need within the marketplace. There were a lot of local small manufacturers in China who were unable to connect to their users and who were unable to connect to their vendors. So Alibaba saw that space and created a platform that connected industries and companies in the mere villages of China and giving them access to a larger marketplace. So again, facilitating the exchange of value. So most of these platform companies, now here we're talking a little bit about the late 90s. Now we're talking about Facebook coming into power. And then as we know Uber, we know Airbnb. They all follow the platform model. And the base of the platform model is something what we call the network effects. Now, network effects was based on a law that said that the effect of telecommunications network is directly proportional to the square of its users. I have learned it, but I'll give you like a simple explanation. Let's take the telephone industry as an example. If you have a telephone, and if no one else in the world has a telephone, what is the telephone? What is the value of that telephone? It is, exactly. It's useless. It's really like a piece of crap. So the telephone industry was successful because the more users were using the telephone, the more value was there for the users. And this is the exact same model that Facebook has used as well. That you as a user, even if you've got 5 other friends, how much conversation can you really have with those 5? Facebook's power is based on the fact that there are so many users all over the world that you can connect with, that you're getting value, not just mere fact of your conversation, but maybe the stuff that they post, the news that you get access to, whether it's Kenya, whether it's US. So again, the power of network became the baseline for a lot of platform companies like Uber and the Airbnbs. And this is a really good example, again, reiterating the same point, that a telephone without a connection at the other end of the line is not even a toy or a scientific instrument. It is one of the most useless things in the world. Its value depends on the connection with other telephones. And this was a line that was actually stated by the chairman of AT&T. This was in 1908. So he saw the impact of connected users. So when we talk about digitization and we talk about platform companies, what essentially was happening in the retail industry? You had Macy's, and the biggest value Macy's had to offer was just amazing clothes. Come to our mall, buy our clothes, we're gonna have the best that you want. But when digitalization happened, companies like Amazon started giving other value to users that was really important. And one of the foremost that I shared earlier was instant access. Yes, you had great clothes, but instant access and a vast repository of clothes was one of the key things. I would go on Amazon just because of the options I had. And then something else started to happen, right? So let's take a moment and see that if all of the companies are providing this instant access, then what is your differentiator as a company? And this is where we started understanding the impact of technology, such as data, such as analytics, such as algorithms and machine learning. We have ACES. ACES, again, is a platform model, and very much similar to Amazon. But what it does is it takes personalization of your experience to another level. When you go on Amazon and you start feeding ACES with your profile and your information, they start understanding you as a person. They create like a brand persona around you, and they put forward options that are very tailored to you as a user. So your experience in ASOS is going to be way more personalized, that you have this sense of belonging. And this essentially would be what a platform model would look like, that you've got producers on one side, so your DKNYs, and you've got consumers like me on the other side. But what was so different about this is that the producers would also act as users, and the users would act as producers as well. So take a look at the example that I gave in Alibaba, that you are a producer and you want to sell your wares, but at the other end, you also want to buy stuff, right? So you are both the buyer and the producer in this model. And one example is Tmall. So I've been studying Chinese companies a lot, and I think that they're doing so much just in the field of retail online commerce. And Tmall is the B2C example of Alibaba, and it's doing tremendously in bringing the right retailers on board and connecting them to the users. So it's really becoming like a matchmaker in the field, on the online field. So where do we stand now in terms of what is the next step, right? We at IBM, we like to call it a little bit of the experience-led model. And what's happening in the experience-led model is that when you talk about digitization, when everybody's e-commerce, when everyone's personalizing, what is that differentiating element? And for us, it is the experience. And we see experience being the foundation for future-proofing your business across all industries. So let me take you through, and essentially right now in the retail industry, when we talk about experiences, what Scott mentioned, a couple of examples, is that there's a huge integration between the physical and digital realms happening. Consumers and users are just not okay with just working in the digital realm, but they want us to integrate their experience in real life as well. So let's take a look at Nike. Now, Nike traditionally followed a pipe model. It would manufacture shoes, it would distribute and market the shoes. But now what Nike decided is that it's very important for me to have a network of users connected, because the more users I have on my network and platform, the more insights I get, and thus I can identify the services I want to include. What is the next model? Is my model or my shoe going to be a success? Are the features right for the audience? So you're now getting all of the users and their larger network connected to your brand. And this is what Nike did. It created a platform where me as a runner could run a marathon with a runner in Boston, creating a sense of belonging, a community, and a culture, bringing people together around a concept of shared value. And another example, you see the trend of experience, the merge between physical and digital happening, because Amazon, who was traditionally known as an online brand, is investing heavily in physical. There's got to be something in it. So what do you see? So as strategists, we're looking at a lot of companies trying to figure out what is the best experience for my user, and what makes sense to me on what is the kind of experience I want to provide. And when you look into, again, the statement that I used earlier is jumping into life, is really the context of experiential strategy, is because you understand your user and you start identifying the gaps of those users. It's not just about the actual product that you want to push forward in the market, it's about the experience you want to deliver. So it becomes larger than just a platform to buy and sell products. It's a platform to create a lifestyle and to bring a community with shared values. So look at Samsung. Samsung originally has always been a refrigerator and electronics manufacturer brand. They came out with a refrigerator because they understood, now this refrigerator is connected now, and it gives you an indication of what's in your refrigerator. So you're able to identify the stuff, and if there's no milk, then you can actually order milk from this refrigerator. Now, why is Samsung doing it? And it's not just Samsung. Samsung wants to own the space around your nutrition. It wants to own the space where you as a family live with your children, with your partners. And owning that, maybe the refrigerator is the foundation, but the services you provide makes you stickable, makes you have a deeper relationship with me as a brand. So now it's not just about the refrigerator, it's about the services. And Samsung now has added the ability for you to take pictures and be able to order the grocery that's missing. The same is the case with General Motors. General Motors wants to own the environment of you riding and driving. You're a captive audience, and we all know that we get stuck in traffic for a good 2-3 hours in certain countries. That is an amazing time for you to have a captive audience. And so what General Motors is doing is that it's created a joint venture called OnStar, where you as a driver have access to a lot of different services. Not only can you access music, you can pay, you can order stuff online, you can even buy television tickets. Now, I ask you, what does that have to do with driving a car? But now General Motors is understanding that it's not just about the car, it's about the lifestyle and the ecosystem that I'm creating for you. And so one of the best examples that we have in terms of how does technology plays a role, and how can we really create more of a lifestyle brand? This is an example that Scott, I, and Owen, we talk a lot about. This is a boutique retail company that is in existence that started in Texas. And what it does is that it's doing a couple of very interesting things. So it said, you know what, we're not going to use and apply the same model as retail or malls. We're going to start thinking about mall as a service, my space in the department store and as a service. So they understood their customers and their users, and they started identifying what are those really niche e-commerce stores and brands that I want to bring in that my customers want to connect to. So they selected these key brands such as Serena Williams and a couple of others that were only e-commerce and digital. But they said, hey, join us. We want to create like a small creative space for you. You can rent it out for 6 to 12 weeks. So there's not so much investment from your end. And now brands like the Serena Williams store and Neighborhood Goods are exploring what does it mean to provide the best experience to your customer. It's a complete change of a business model. They're also doing a lot of stuff. So what they're doing is they're, again, looking at the experience of my consumer and how does my customer actually spend their time. So I might just go, right, in a neighborhood store, neighborhood goods store, and I'm interested in maybe a cutlery set, or I'm interested in certain glass or clothes. They're tracking all of it because they are using technology to the best advantage. They understand dynamics on when you like a product. Their beacons and their systems are tracking your move on, oh, you spend 5 to 10 seconds longer looking at that particular product. And they're using that technology to deliver to you customized offers. So I might see a particular product, and you detect that I liked it, but I didn't buy it. So maybe when I'm away from the store, you'll send me an offer, because you already understood that I was close to buying it. They're also using data in very exceptional ways. Their application is very contextual. So if I'm in Texas, in their store, or near that surrounding, they're going to send me a lot of different stuff about the events that are happening in the store, about the different offers, about the new things that I might want to explore. But when I'm in New York, they're going to send me a complete different set of messages because they understand that I cannot come to that event. So what would be my driving factor? Maybe it's just offers. Maybe it's, a pop-up store that's going to be in New York. So really understanding that experience, what a customer wants, and contextualizing your offers. So a little bit about, when we look at the different value elements, and you see we started with Macy's in the 1980s, which was all about great clothes. We went to Amazon, which was about instant access, accessibility, real-time stuff going on, and then ACES, greater personalization. But now when we speak about neighborhood goods, we talk about the new age of retail. We're looking at different ways on how technology can help you understand that experience. And when you understand the lifestyle gaps of your users, you're going to be able to identify the services that are going to attract them to your platform. And again, that stickability is very key. And so different elements that you actually get when you talk about a platform model, you get greater insight to customers. I spoke a little bit about that. Online to offline, we all know how important it is. Because accessibility, again, and continuing that relationship, even when they're not in your store, in your mall, becomes key. And again, understanding ecosystem players to identify what services you want to promote. And then it all brings to value addition. So what does the future look like? There are people who are going to be on these digital platforms, and they're going to be spending a lot of time. And if you want that platform to be yours, you need to do a lot more than just pushing a product. You want to create like a lifestyle around it. Maybe it's driving. So you build an ecosystem about anyone who drives. You create an ecosystem around nutrition that Samsung is doing, or shopping, or farming. There's an interesting case study I can tell you over the break on how platform for farmers are being created. But the most important thing is you want to create a digital interface and experience that makes your customers be there and live in that space and create a community around shared values. And for now, I'm going to ask Owen to tell you exactly how we can help you make that happen.
Thanks, Esma. Am I on?
I poured you.
Oh, okay. I think I'm really on now. So my job is to talk about the how. How do we disrupt? How do we thrive? And I think that's what we all really want to do here, is to disrupt and to thrive in the new environments that present us. Now, Like the previous speaker that we had, I'm going to make this a little bit interactive. I don't have the advantage of the colored glasses that we had last time, but I do have the advantage of two erstwhile assistants who are going to go around the space here and help me out when we get to a bit of a short sort of disruptive exercise to get us thinking. Well, wrong way. So, the way we like to look at it, when we look at this problem here about how do we disrupt, how do we thrive, I think it's important to kind of put it into some sort of framework, some sort of model that we can kind of conceptualize. Because as Scott said at the beginning of his presentation, that we really need to try and, if we leave this room with some tools, some tactics, and some techniques, then I think we're in a better position rather than just simply looking at some trends and seeing what's happening on the marketplace. So the way we look at it, we like to say that it really is all about platforms. I think that platform plays are becoming increasingly the order of the day. And it is about bringing together the people, the process, the data, and bringing that all together in a cohesive platform environment. That's really where the rubber hits the road. And it is about data, for example, that's internal and data that's external. It's about bringing all of these things together. And I was thinking about it the other day about, how do you get there? It's all about innovation. And innovation, I think, is becoming quite ubiquitous everywhere we kind of look. Hands up to anybody recognize what I'm showing here on the screen? Is there a hand up there? Yep. Yes, so this is the greenhouse with Shaloub in the design district. Yeah? So, in fact, they'll be speaking about it tomorrow. I think they're on the agenda to speak about tomorrow. But this is a great example of how we don't have to look very far to see that organizations in our industry, in our geography, are taking innovation very seriously. So the investment that Shaloub has made in the greenhouse about bringing together an ecosystem of potential partners together to look at ways to innovate, that's becoming the order of the day. This is another example. This is Alpha Tame Group. They have a dedicated innovation hub as part of their organization now, where they actually bring all of the smart ideas in from the organization and then look for ways to see if there's potential to drive innovation from those smart ideas into the organization. But how do you go about it? And I think there's a couple of things that we perhaps can take note of here. The first one is that you've got to look like, is there a need to disrupt? What's at the core of this? How do you look to how you can create new business models? Are other businesses outside of our industry coming in and disrupting? So what is the need? What's behind it? And then when we talk about innovation, the point I really take here is that it's really about moving quick. It's really about experimentation. I think that you need to get from the smart idea, do the necessary due diligence, but then move quickly to actually experimenting and innovating. And at the end of the day, it's about finding these new ways of working. And as we go through the exercise in a moment, you'll see here that it is about how do we bring people with different points of view together to actually find these new ways of working. Now, the way in which we do this at IBM, we talk about enterprise design thinking. And I think there's probably not an organization I've spoken to today that doesn't have an opinion on design thinking. It has become one of the tools and tactics that organizations are using all around this region, whether I'm talking to clients here in the Middle East or I'm talking to clients down in South Africa, at the other end of our geography or up in Turkey. Everybody is talking about, how do we make this real, and we think about design thinking. So we at IBM, we have the tactic of enterprise design thinking, and when we try to frame it, this is how we say it. We say, look, firstly, it's about the think, the transform, and then the thrive. So from the think side is about how do you do the necessary thinking, the necessary due diligence, how do you get these smart ideas? And then the transform is, it's all well and good to have all of the big ideas, but how do you put them in action? So the transform exercise is about how do you then look at what is the necessary technologies that need to underpin and make this a reality. And then thrive, the point here is that to thrive is really about making it sustainable, because there's a potential here that when you go down this path, that you can be a bit of a one-hit wonder, that you can go forward and do it and then not have a way to actually continue it. And when you look at the best organizations in our business that are doing this, they are setting themselves up with the necessary infrastructures and the necessary facilities to allow them to thrive. So that's really where we need to get to, is to get to thrive. And it can't really be like accidental transformation, because I like this slide here, because I think it tells an interesting story about how this really is a case study in accidental transformation, something that we don't want to do. Because this is a story about the production of ice, and it comes from Guy Kowalski. And he talks about, you know, back in the early part of the 20th century, the way in which we got ice is that we had ice cutters who went out to frozen lakes and they cut the ice, and that's how they actually delivered the ice to the consumer. As time and technology went by, the next evolution was that we had refrigeration. So we started to get on board factories that then would produce the ice, and then they would get that to the consumer. So it went from cutting the ice to the ice factories. Then as we fast forward, we now get to refrigeration. So the technology to have the capability to make the ice, if you like, in your own home. That's the next evolution. And then, of course, today we talk about climate controllers. Climate controllers that you can have, you know, on your mobile device. You can be controlling the climate in your house or in your car, you know, away from the actual car or the house, right? So we've gone all the way to that end. But the point here to note is that during this transformative journey, the organizations that were doing the ice cutting were not the people who then went to the ice factories. And the people who are in the ice factory business were not the people who then produced the refrigerators. Now, you can probably argue that the major manufacturers in the refrigeration business, some of them did then transform into the business of, you know, more enhanced climate control devices. But this is an example of accidental innovation, because if you looked at this from start to finish, you can say, well, what if I had actually thought about this journey and actually participated in it with a more forward-thinking point of view, and you would have been in a much better position, because there's a lot of companies that went out of business as we went through this transition. So, from a design thinking perspective, here's how we like to look at it. We say it is about an infinity loop, right? And it's about making observations, then reflecting on those observations, and then moving quickly to actually doing something, and then repeating the cycle. That's at the core of the design thinking. Now, what might be good now is to actually give you guys a bit of an exercise to get you thinking, and then what I will do afterwards is I'll take you through some real-life design thinking examples about how organizations have innovated and have actually taken things to the next level. So, the first problem we have on the agenda here is designing an alarm clock. So does everybody have pen and paper in front of them? Yeah? I might send my helpers out to the audience here.
We're going to get something back, guys. You're going to design something for us, and we as IBM are going to launch it into the market. So we want you to spend a minute designing, using a piece of paper on your table, Ritz-Carlton headed paper, doesn't matter, doesn't have to be fancy, but just take a minute, and we'll start the clock in a second.
Yep.
If you were asked to design an alarm
pens
clock
being
as you are
picked up
right
here.
now, how would you go about it? Or what would your alarm clock be?
If you had to design an alarm clock, so you don't have to, you can design an alarm clock you know.
Okay, so
But let's design an alarm clock. If you had to design an
start the
alarm clock,
timer.
what would it look like? Just a picture, yeah? There's a nice alarm clock coming here.
we should have brought some quiz show music.
Oh, yeah, there should be something entertaining here.
Okay, 30 seconds left.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing a line on the paper here. I'm waiting for a little bit more action. We've got true innovation here. How are we going for time, Scott?
Okay, 5 seconds. Okay, Owen, do you want to start? Any volunteers?
I'll start. Yeah, okay, well, pick on this side. Anybody want to volunteer to share their alarm clock with us? Oh, look, I've got to go for this gentleman because he used his iPhone to do some designing. Okay. Can everybody see the alarm clock? Okay, so maybe tell me, what's the key elements of this alarm clock, yeah?
Wait, let me give you a mic.
Oh, I have a mic.
Hello? Yeah, all right.
The wings. Wings.
It works.
Yeah.
It works, okay. Nice, simple design, large graphical display. I'm seeing it's what, 1 a.m. or 1 p.m.?
1 a.m.
1 a.m., 1 a.m., yeah? Okay, all right.
Okay, we have one here. We've got
There's another one
by the
with-
way, the wings is my colleague's idea.
collaboration.
Oh, okay, it was collaboration, okay. Sorry? Yeah, why 1 o'clock in the morning?
I don't know. I've seen it there.
Oh,
So it's
okay,
1 o'clock.
Okay, all right.
Influencing.
We'll get another one here. Okay, we're moving across, okay.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay, this is very artistic. Everyone see that here? This is beautiful. It's a digital display. Nicely. Would this be like in red or green or something? Would it be? Tell me about it.
Green.
Green, just like the old-fashioned ones.
Yes, it's visible.
Tell me about it. Tell me about the design.
It's a Wi-Fi connected alarm clock. It runs on solar system, right?
So it's Wi-Fi connected. It runs on solar power.
Solar power.
Yeah.
And it is accessible to see the time any part of the day. Even late nights, if it's dark, you can still see your
Right.
clock.
So the display is such that no matter what the light condition is, you can see
Yes.
you can see the time quite easily.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can
As
connect
much.
it with your mobile phone
Yeah.
and set your choice of ringtones.
Ah, so it's integrated to the iPhone,
Yes.
and you can set your choice of ringtones. So there's a fair bit going on here.
I think he's
Okay.
still designing as we speak. We have a curvy version here.
Okay, another version here. Let's have a look.
Yeah, it's working. I think. Is it? Oh. So an infinity loop. Okay, and 5:15. So you're an early riser. Okay.
Oh,
Very
wow.
good.
Okay, so a really cool design element here. So like you said, an infinity loop with the digital display. Anybody do an analog? Oh, there's another one over here.
We've got a fun one here as well.
Yeah, we've got.
Is everybody like my children? They can't tell the time if it's not
Okay.
digital? Is
Yes.
that the... Ah, beautiful. Tell me. Where's the mic, please?
I've got one. Here, wait.
No, check. Okay. So try to create an alarm clock which is more on artificial intelligence, which we just learned about in the morning. I don't want it to sound and give any kind of sound. It should just be connected to the brain. And it says Z here, which says when you're sleeping, it should tell you this is 5 now, and you just wake up from your, when you dream, you wake up. So it just tells you, connected with your head, that yes, it's Z. So it just shows you the perfect time to get up without making any noise for anybody else.
Wow. So this is completely like, this is what do you call it, bio-integrated or something?
DAI, which is Dream Artificial Intelligence.
Dream Artificial Intelligence.
We'll go to
Wow, okay,
Asma
I think
next.
that is quite a
Oh,
winner.
wait, we've got Claudia here who's got a
Claudia,
very interesting design.
One more, yeah.
I designed something very different. It's not very digital, actually. It's a high-tech robot. So
It's a high-tech what?
So if you don't wake up, it has a spring that brings you closer to the person with the heat sensors that hits you to wake you up if you don't wake up with the sound.
Punishment
And it can offer a coffee.
and coffee.
So this one's like
It's a coffee machine and a sensor, and so you can have it all together.
But it hits you if you don't wake up.
Yeah, like slight.
Hits your head.
Yeah, because I couldn't wake up this
So
morning.
no
with the
carrot,
alarm.
just a stick. Yeah,
Owen,
okay,
Owen, I'll summarize here. We've got a few watches. We've got
That's
analog.
quite macabre.
Got watches looking like an Apple Watch, a traditional watch, an analog clock, and then one here. Do you want to explain?
Okay. This is the speaker with the vibrator. Normally, I don't want to put the mobile phone in my room or my kids' room, so I want to put the mobile on the charging room. And this is the sticker with the vibrator, so I can put any stick. I can put anywhere.
So it's a sticker.
It's a sticker with a vibrator.
It's linked.
So when I'm traveling, we can put it everywhere. We don't want to put mobile near my.
Right, you don't want to put the mobile phone where your
Yeah,
kids
me.
are, so
Yeah.
you're going to have like a sticker
with the vibrator.
with a vibrator in there
And
that
then
can
it
actually do
gives
the
us
waking up.
Simple.
Wow. Portable, sticky, and 6 a.m. That's important to you because it's when you get up, the school run.
Should we
okay.
change the question, Owen?
Oh, we got one more. We got
go.
another one here. It's getting pretty heated.
I didn't draw anything in particular. So basically,
Did you prototype it here?
Kind of.
Okay.
So basically, one of the challenges I face with any alarm clock is automatic jet lag calculation, right?
Yeah.
So when you're traveling, you want to know when you're in your destination how many hours you should sleep based on the new timing, right? So based on your flight itinerary, you can calculate how many, the alarm clock can adjust itself with the correct timing to be able to, compensate jet lag.
Wow. So that one's incorporating, so as frequent travelers, it addresses the issue of jet lag and then works that into the whole operation. Wow. Okay, well, that might be enough of the design of the alarm clock, but let's just flip. What happens if I changed the paradigm? What if I now said to you, design a better way to wake up in the morning? Why don't we have a go at that? I'll give you 1 minute again, a better way to wake up in the morning.
Starting
now. Oh, you're already there? You didn't have 1 minute. Wait for the minute. Give the other guys 1 minute.
Oh, and let's wait 1 minute.
Yeah, we'll wait 1 minute. Wait 1 minute. Hang on.
So guys,
Better way to wake up in the morning. I'm seeing pen to paper happening here. Yes. I'm sneaking up behind you. Yes. Oh, you're just watching. Okay, observing. You three gentlemen, better way to wake up in the morning? Oh, no, you have to draw it. You have to draw it. Oh, okay, keep it, hold it. Yep,
20
we'll come back.
seconds.
20 seconds. Oh, yeah, there's pen to paper over here.
Okay, we call time.
I'm seeing the previous one. Are we on time, are we?
Yeah, anyone there?
Okay, anyone on this side of the room who wants to share their better way to wake up in the morning?
Any volunteers?
Any takers? Any takers?
This gentleman was waiting patiently since the
Okay,
last.
since the beginning. We'll go back over here. We should have got him first. Okay.
You don't like me, yeah?
There you go. Talk. Tell me, better way to wake up in the morning.
All right, so the idea is to wake up with the memory pills alarm clock. So every day you wake up, the alarm, ciao Claudia, the alarm will tell you what you've done that morning, a year before or a few years before, same day. So that brings back memories and it makes you feel more alive.
So the better way to wake up in the morning is a memory cube, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a memory pills alarm clock cube. Yeah, design a cube. So you have 6 memories every time you wake up, maximum.
Oh, so it's just like a beautiful digital representation of the previous day's highlight or whatever, and then you
Yes.
wake up feeling happy, yeah?
Yes,
Ready
that's
for the next challenge.
Yeah, your wedding present, you
All right.
visit a relative in the mountains, skiing, you broke your leg. Whatever happened to you, it brings it back.
Brings it
Nice.
back. Okay, fantastic. Okay, another one. Do we have another example? These three gentlemen were working feverishly before. Do we have? Tell us your story. What's your better way to wake up in the morning?
Usually just a coffee or smell of coffee. That's it.
Ah.
When my wife just making a coffee, so when I smell it, I wake up.
So
I designed the machine just in.
So nothing that strikes you like this young lady had before, but rather appeals to you. So more of the carrot and less of the stick
exactly.
that we saw over here. Okay, all right. So the smell of coffee to wake you up in the morning.
That's it. It's enough.
Okay, beautiful. All right. Any other big ideas? Oh, here's another big idea.
The idea is to have like a sleep sensor.
Yeah.
Just to monitor when you've slept enough. It just wakes you up with a nice music or something. So it's not an alarm, because if you wanna a better way to wake up is not to wake up. Like it's just to whenever you're done sleeping, just wake up.
Right.
Nothing
So it's more of a natural process.
Exactly.
A better way to wake up.
It
Not
just calculates when you've
When
slept
you're
enough.
ready.
When you've slept enough, and then it just wakes you up.
Okay. All right. Fantastic.
That's 6 minutes.
I think we're done, are we? I'm running out of time. Okay. So I think this is a pretty good exercise, because when I gave you the first problem, I think we all approached it in this way. We designed a product. We designed an alarm clock. Some people did it digitally, some people did it analog, but at the end of the day, what we were doing is we were actually designing a product. But when we flipped it and said, design for me a better way to wake up in the morning, our point of view changed. We looked at it now about designing a better way. We talked about how do we appeal to, our sense of smell? How do we tie into our sleep rhythms? Yeah? How do we maybe start the day off on the right foot because we're thinking we're being presented with yesterday's best moment? Yeah? So it's a completely different way of looking at the problem domain. And so if we keep drilling down on this, what did we learn? There's a few things I think that we learned out of this. The first one is that putting people first leads to more innovative ideas. Yeah? So when we come to the second problem domain, the second problem, it was more sort of innovation, more interesting, because we were actually putting ourselves at the center of the problem and saying, how do I make this better? Yeah, better for me. Whereas when it's the product focus, it's a different mindset entirely. The next thing to say is that there are so many interesting ideas out there, yeah? And so the more people that you throw at the problem, you end up with a greater sense of greater ability to innovate, because everybody comes to it with a different perspective. So the more perspectives, the more points of view, the different lenses that you look at the problem domain through, you end up in a much stronger position when it comes to innovation. And I think that this is another great lesson learned, is that the whole cliche of fail fast, the whole idea behind attacking the innovation from a design thinking angle is to say, how do we innovate? How do we move to production? How do we move to pilot? How do we get something out there, see if it works? How do we experiment? And if we fail, then we come back through the loop. It's an infinity loop. It's not just a linear journey. And making mistakes is the best way to learn. So design thinking is this framework. And what I wanted to starting to sort of help you guys appreciate is the idea that if we are to innovate, then we need to do it with rigor, and this is one way in which we can approach it. And what I wanted to do also is just give you some examples, because this is happening out there, and we talk about how some of the businesses in our environment already are putting formal organisations or institutions in place to innovate. There's plenty of things actually going on in real life. So, this is the first and most easy one. Any guesses if you combined all these three things together, what are you going to get? I don't have a book or anything to give away as a prize, but any... Oh, here we go. Answer? Smartphone. Absolutely. What about this one? Ooh, there we go. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a harder one. Right? Are we ready? Okay. So here's an interesting one. Everybody knows what this is? It's an MRI, yeah? Okay. So I'll tell you a little story. The gentleman who designed this particular device was enormously pleased with himself in terms of he created an engineering masterpiece. When he created this, he thought, wow, this is doing the job, it's working, and he was very proud of his achievement. But then one day he was in a hospital and he was seeing his MRI machine in action, and he saw a small child, and the child was actually quite upset, very upset about the idea that they're about to go into one of these, yeah? And so he watched that, and then he sat back and thought, maybe I've got it wrong. That here am I saying that this is an engineering masterpiece, and it does the job perfectly. So he went away, and he attacked the problem with some design thinking experts, and it changed his point of view. And this is what he came up with. So what he did is he figured out that the customer journey for the child was one that was so clinical and so frightening. What if I could flip it and make it a journey that was engaging and entertaining? So he had the MRI machines painted in different color themes with different experiences. So the one we're looking at now is one that is actually meant to represent a pirate ship journey. And the story they will tell the kids is that you need to go here, you need to go here, you need to lie still, because if you make any noise or any movement, the pirates will come and get you, etc., etc. So they played a game. The reaction was amazing, that now kids looked at this and they were really engaged with the idea that they would go play this game. The only way that this engineer got to this point was because they took a step back and they looked at it from a design thinking point of view. And here's another photo of it. There's the kid with the pirate hat being put on. So I'll give you another one that's closer to home. This is one that we've been involved in. So everybody recognize that's a rhino? Yeah? Okay. So in South Africa, we are engaged to have a look at, in collaboration with a telco provider and some government agencies, about how could we maybe help with the poaching issue with rhinos. Now, it turns out that rhino horn is now the most valuable commodity on the planet. It beats any kind of, you know, whether it's oil, whether it's diamonds, whether any precious metal, any illicit substance, it's worth more than anything, yeah? By kilo, by gram, whatever the measurement is. So we got together with a couple of organizations in South Africa, and our first reaction was, okay, how would we as a tech company solve this problem? Well, the obvious answer was we would put collars around the rhinos, and we would work with the telco to actually track the movement of the rhino, and then we would be able to get ahead of the poachers. That seems like the most obvious conclusion, yeah? So it turns out that when we did this, that we still did not get ahead of the poachers. The poachers still got to the rhinos before the rangers could get to the rhinos. So then we went back to the drawing board, and the most unlikely suspect turned up. Turned out it was all about this guy. So there's a lot more of them in South Africa than there is of rhinos, yeah? And it turns out that these guys are far more sensitive to changes in their environment than the rhinos are. So we took a step back, we approached the problem with design thinking, and the outcome that we had was we started putting the collars on these guys, because these guys could get ahead of the poachers, because they would be sensitive to the change in environment, they would raise the alarm much earlier, so by the time the zebras flagged the issue that there was something foreign in their environment, we were then able to have time to get to the rhinos before the poachers. So they're like an early warning system or device. But again, we wouldn't have got there if we actually hadn't have taken a step back, because the normal approach would be, it's quite intuitive, just put the collars on the rhinos and problem is solved, yeah? So I'm going to finish up now, but my point is really the following, that innovation is ubiquitous, I think, in our industries. We are probably the industry that is focused on consumer. Everybody on this planet is a consumer in one way or form, one shape or form. So it's not surprising that we're kind of leading this. But we need to lead this in a kind of a managed fashion, and we need to lead this in a way that we take a step back and we have a look about how we could do things differently. Because the other thing that we've got in our industry is that other industries are coming in and they're getting on our turf, if you like, yeah? So no longer can we work in an environment where we can actually, you know, as Asma was showing, there was very very linear in the model. It's now coming, innovation and disruptions coming at all sorts of angles from us. So my message really is that we need to employ tactics like design thinking to kind of get that done, and I think we have the best chance of moving forward and disrupting ourselves. So that is it from me, Scott.
Thank you, Owen, and thank you, Asma, and thank you from me for having us. If you have any questions, we can possibly take one or two now, and if not, if you want to approach us individually, we'll be outside. The challenge with creating a presentation like this is not to generalize. We talk about what retailers are doing. If I talk to a mall operator or we talk to a retailer, the why is common in some cases, but unique to the brand, to the culture, the organization. So we would very much appreciate to understand your why and help you with the how you go about driving innovation. But if you have any questions, please volunteer them now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Yep.